Ladies and gentlemen, shocking news in the 2024 presidential cycle. No one saw this coming, but presidential candidate Cenk Uygur has suspended his campaign. Wow. Also Nikki Haley and Dean Phillips. But anyway, Cenk Uygur. Wow. This is the big news. And in actuality, I guess the big news is that Nikki Haley is dropped out. But no offense to Cenk. It was just funnier. Like, let me just point out that joke about Cenk suspending his campaign actually wasn't a dig at Cenk. It's actually respect because we're insulting Nikki Haley. He's more important. And I mean it. Cenk Uygur's campaign was substantially more important than Nikki Haley's because he had a constitutional question behind what he was doing. That being said, we've got updates on the results. Nikki Haley, of course, has dropped out. She won one state. Trump has now been named the presumptive nominee. Joe Biden actually lost. He lost American Samoa to this guy. What's his name? Jason Phillips or something?
Jason Palmer.
Jason Palmer. That's right. Why did I say Phillips? I don't even know who the guy is. I didn't even get his name. Yeah, Dean Phillips. I didn't get his name right. And so that's actually a really funny story. Then we got this clip from MSNBC, where they're surprised that people in Virginia think immigration is the most pressing issue. So we'll talk about that. But the actual big story today we were initially going to lead with is the National Guard has been deployed in New York, 750 guardsmen, as well as 250 state law enforcement into the New York subways because people keep getting pushed onto the tracks. It's getting real bad down there. I just want to say the crime wave we're seeing has gotten so bad. They're calling in the National Guard. It's reflective of their soft on crime policies. But look at what they're doing with this Alex Jonesian problem reaction solution. They create the problem. Then there's a reaction from the people, and then they offer up the solution, which is National Guard doing bag checks in your subway. I got an idea. When you arrest these people, you keep them in jail. You charge these people. You don't let them go. They argued for bail reform, put a bunch of violent criminals in the street, and then went, oh, I guess we got to bring in the National Guard. Coming to a town near you. So we'll talk about that. But before we do, my friends, head over to castbrew.com and buy coffee. Why? It's the best damn coffee you'll ever have. We are sold out across the board of Appalachian Nights because y'all love it too much. But Rise with Roberto Jr. is also delicious for those that like a light roast. And if you're a big fan of a dark roast and you did like Appalachian Nights, Stand Your Grounds is fairly comparable. It's just a medium roast. And I certainly do recommend it. And of course, you can always check out Alex Stein's Primetime Grind, 2 times caffeine. Drink responsibly. Cast Brew proudly sponsors Alex Stein's show over at The Blaze. We're big fans. And when you buy Cast Brew coffee, not only are you supporting our work here at Timcast, but you're helping to support our physical space. Last night, we had our first live show in Martinsburg, West Virginia. And it was really cool because the guys next door, they had a watch party. They were fans. Really, really awesome. And we had maybe about 60 or so people came. It was awesome. Live studio audience, everybody clapping and cheering when Dave Smith made jokes, and he appreciated that. And we're hoping to do more, potentially maybe the end of April if we can get that going, then once a month. And that's made possible because that building is the Cast Brew coffee shop building. The first floor it's not quite begun. We're waiting on permits to get the construction going, but it should only be a couple months once that's finalized. Second floor is our social club. So buy Cast Brew coffee to support our work, but also go to timcast.com, click join us. Become a member and support our work directly. And I will add, if you want to come to these live events, we're not putting up ads. We're not posting on the show or anything like that. We'll mention it on the show, but only after. When you're a member, we will send out an email announcing when the next show will be. And so you need to check your emails. The reason why, it is a private event. We are not publicly advertising it. And that's very, very important. So there are a lot of people who missed the email and then tickets sold out really quick. And I apologize, but that's the way we're doing this. Members will get an email. So check your emails. And the other big issue is if you're an elite member. Now that's $100 a month, but the second floor will hopefully within the next month or two be opened up as our social club for elite members, meaning you'll get a key fob. You can buzz yourself in, hang out, watch shows, play pool, and we're getting all that set up right now. So that's our plan for our physical locations. Of course, as a member, you'll get access to our uncensored members only show. We'll have one up for you tonight at 10 p.m. You don't want to miss it. Also, smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with all your friends right now. Joining us tonight to talk about this and everything else is Heidi Briones.
Hey, happy to be here.
Who are you? What do you do?
My name's Heidi Briones. I'm a writer, content creator, former congressional candidate out of Portland, Oregon. I write at HeidiBriones.com, and I have a whole lot of fun on X at Heidi Briones, and happy to be here.
Right on. Thanks for hanging out. Should be fun. We got Libby hanging out.
I'm Libby Emmons. I'm hanging out. I'm here from the Post-Millennial and HumanEvents.com. I'm glad to be here.
And Ian Crossland, ready to rock and roll. What's up, everybody? Good to see you, Heidi. Good to
Thanks,
meet you.
Ian. Great to
Finally,
meet
I
you.
see you on Twitter all the time. Very frequently. That was hyperbole saying all the time, but often I see you on Twitter. So it's nice to meet you in
Well,
person.
good. Yeah, it's great to meet you too.
Right on. What's happening, Serge? Nice glasses, man.
Yo, yeah. I had these glasses before Sam Hyde in his famous videos in the 2020 year. But anyways, what's up on Serge.com? Let's get started.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have huge news in the 2024 cycle. The presidential candidate, Cenk Uygur, has suspended his campaign and is formally out. We were saddened to hear it, but this announcement just came within the past hour. POTUS candidate Cenk Uygur announces on TYT Live that he's officially suspending his campaign for president, reflecting on fighting for naturalized citizens, for Biden to drop out, and for Palestinians. I do respect he is fighting for Biden to drop out. We can agree on that one. He says, this was part of my announcement on TYT that I'm suspending the campaign and no longer actively campaigning as a candidate. I'm honest about what we were able to accomplish and what we weren't. Love my supporters for trying to make a difference. Now, you may be asking, what? Well, I got to be honest. Yeah, Nikki Haley also dropped out, but she never mattered in the first place. There was no big question on her campaign. It was utter confusion the whole time. And of course, the actual big story that everyone's been talking about all day is that Nikki Haley has exited the Republican presidential race. I'm just going to go ahead and say this. Cenk Uygur's presidential campaign mattered 100 times more than Nikki Haley's. Because at the very least, he was asking a constitutional question. He was not born in the United States, but he believes that the 14th Amendment changed those rules. And as a naturalized citizen, he's entitled to all of the rights of any other citizen, including running for the office of presidency. Many disagree. Instead, everybody's talking about Nikki Haley, who finally quit. But to be fair, she won Vermont. You know, open.
Yeah, that was really important.
It's an open primary.
Yeah.
Out of the park, yeah.
And I you know, what's happening now with her suspension announcement, she said Trump needs to win over the people who supported me. And we're hearing from, I think the Daily Beast wrote something up saying the fact that, 30% of Republicans wanted Nikki Haley over Trump says a lot. And I'm like, one, it doesn't.
No.
Because a lot of people wanted Ted Cruz and didn't get him, and they still voted for
Anybody
Trump.
but Trump. That's
And-
the anybody but Trump group, right?
Yeah, and two, Vermont's an open primary, so like I'm not going to count all these Democrats. They mean nothing. So here we are. And then finally on the Biden front, you got to shout out, this is Jason Palmer. I didn't even get his name right in the intro. Jason Palmer beat Joe Biden in American Samoa.
I got to go there one day.
He's big in American
yeah,
Samoa.
definitely. It's got to be like on the list now.
Man,
It's like
I
being
keep
big
hearing
in
about that
Japan,
place.
but you're big in Samoa, you know?
I wonder if he's ever been there. I mean, like, they just, it was 50 votes, I think.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so maybe
That's
it's just,
amazing.
I wonder if a bunch of people in Samoa are like, we can't vote for Biden.
Yeah, they just liked the way his name sounded and he was on the ballot.
They're probably concerned about Taiwan.
What was the,
We need a real commander.
what was that guy's name? There was some guy on the primary ballot named President R, like Bideau or something. Did you see that?
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, what was it? Someone Google that real quick. Get his name. Because what people were assuming is that this guy put himself on the list so that elderly people with poor vision would see President Bideau or whatever and vote for him.
I can't find. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you know how to look it up? I can't find it.
Look up President R primary. And then that should come up. Anybody find it?
I did not find it.
Really?
Yep.
It's on my Twitter.
It's on your Twitter.
How could you guys not find this? You got to learn how to do your internet research. What's going on?
Well, my favorite thing was Biden coming out trying to make a play for Nikki Haley's voters. And he said, Donald Trump made it clear he doesn't want Nikki Haley's supporters. I want to be clear there is space for them in my campaign. And then he said, there's a lot we don't agree on, and went on to talk about democracy and a whole bunch of nonsense. But as I was looking at this statement earlier today, I realized I don't even know what Nikki Haley stands for. I don't know anything about her platform other than probably sending a lot of money overseas.
Yeah, she wanted to make everyone sign up with her social security number to use social media too. She's kind of
It was body.
on that.
President R body. Right above Joseph R. Biden Jr. And Democrats were getting mad. They were like, is this guy trying to confuse people? And I'm just like, if your name is Biden, if your last name is Biden, you should change your first name to President and definitely put yourself on those ballots. I'm kidding. Don't do that. But it would, like, what if this guy's name was actually like Richard Biden and he changed his name to President?
Or what if he was named president? What if his parents were just really aspirational? You know? Like if you name your kid Doctor, he'll be like Doctor.
For sure.
Yeah.
Can't you put almost any name you want on some of these ballots, though, in some states?
I can't believe he was actually able to put President.
Yeah.
But the Democrats were like, elderly folks with poor vision are going to see President R. Bod
Yeah,
and be
they're gonna
like,
think
that's
they're
him.
voting for the president.
What state was this in?
It was actually all over, I'm pretty
Oh.
sure. I don't know what state this one was, though. California.
Oh, wow.
It's weird that Biden's at the bottom. I think they
Yeah.
put him at the top of the list.
They do it randomly.
Do they do it randomly?
Yeah, most states do it randomly.
Who's Gabriel Cornejo?
That looks like it's in reverse alphabetical order, that list.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it is. Oh, no, you're right. It's not. Cambridge and Cornejo are.
They do
Yeah,
it randomly to be fair, because if you're at the top, it's shown that you have an advantage, actually.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Oh, you mean by
Literally, it's
by
random.
last name?
Last
you're
name,
saying?
alphabetical last name, reverse, but it's not.
it's close.
Maybe it is random.
Yeah.
I'm glad Cenk. I have a lot of respect for Cenk Uygur as a person. For the last 20 years, I've enjoyed watching his stuff. More off and on, I disagree with a lot of what he says.
Yeah, particularly about horses, but you know.
Particularly about the equine nature of reality.
Love.
But I massively appreciate he puts his money where his mouth is. He hires a bunch of people. He runs a news organization, and he runs for president. The guy has balls.
Especially when he was accused of union busting. That was ballsy.
You know-
I respect that. When you're a progressive running a liberal leftist organization, claim to be progressive, and then you yell and scream at people and for when they try to form a union. I mean, that shows that you really care about the capitalist enterprise that you're engaged in.
Well, I don't know about that part. But I think that this whole, should you be a naturalized citizen to run for president? Do you have to be born here? Not, because
It's a
right
good
before the
question
show,
to ask, right?
Like
I
a
mean,
ch-
we should be asking these questions.
Like Tim was mentioning before the show, a member of the Chinese Communist Party comes over here, pops the baby out in 3 days, goes back with the baby to China, raises the baby as a Chinese Communist Party member. Then when the baby's 38, they fly over here speaking barely any English. Well, maybe they know English at that point. They can run for president, even though they're a Communist Party member, just because those 3 days they were born in the... Nah. Cenk Uygur is way more respect and I think authority to run for president than that kid would.
This is I actually agree a lot with Cenk Uygur's argument on the right to run for president. Not so much that I think he's correct, but I agree there's a problem. And he argued that as a naturalized citizen, he should be entitled to all the rights and privileges of any other citizen. But the Constitution so far, or the rulings and interpretation has been he cannot be president because he wasn't born here, despite being naturalized. So he's a citizen; he can vote. It's an interesting question. And as Ian pointed out before the show got started, the argument I had with him, I should say the agreement was, there's birth tourism. People from China will fly to California. They do this today. Within like a month of when they're about to give birth, stay, give birth to their children, and then a week or two later, or whenever they're getting out of the hospital, fly back to China. Now their child is eligible for American. Their child's a citizen, eligible to be the president. So this kid could be flown back to communist China as a card-carrying Chinese Communist Party member, indoctrinated, supported, and trained, and then 35 years later, come back to the U.S. without speaking a word of English and run for president. That
That's
one
not
doesn't
fair.
make sense.
That's not fair.
Definitely possible. Well, I mean, it's a good question. We should really examine birthright citizenship in general and, what the rights of being naturalized actually mean. What does it actually mean to be naturalized? And can you can vote for president, but you can't run? Kind of weird.
What if the compromise is we eliminate birthright citizenship, but this means naturalized citizens can be president? Can't hear you.
Because
It makes sense.
it's a
Serge is
different...
talking,
Serge
but
said,
it's
yeah,
Serge-
yeah,
Serge
I
said
get
yeah.
it.
But Serge, you have to understand,
likes it.
everyone else
I concur
at home
with
just hears
Serge.
dead silence for 3 seconds.
Right. That's true.
You like that idea, though? I'm going to make you talk. Talk to me, Serge.
I'm just trying to stay out of the
Forcing her to get the
conversation.
mic.
So I'm a naturalized citizen, and I appreciate that, because then that means that the stuff that I went through to become a citizen then is worth something. It makes it worthy of what it is. So yeah, I'm for that.
Why should we value an illegal immigrant who crosses the border, running from law enforcement, who then gives birth, and that kid now has more rights than Serge does, and Serge is someone who came here, worked really, really hard legally to become a citizen? I think it's an interesting question. I think Cenk is right about that. I disagree with him politically, but I do think there's a problem where illegal immigrants can come here, have kids, and then that kid could be
You know what?
president.
Or anyone,
I think that's
yeah.
pretty interesting. I like this idea. This naturalized citizens can become president thing. I think that's what it is in a lot of places. I think that's probably what it is in Canada and the UK, which would be most similar, I think, to us. Although I'm not sure. But the thing that means is no amnesty, no mass amnesty for
Right.
8 million illegal immigrants who randomly walked across the border or got flown in after making an appointment on an app as to when they would illegally cross the border and get, their asylum date. So yeah, I think that would work. Remove birthright citizenship, go with naturalized citizens can become president. But then absolutely, if you entered the country illegally, no, you can never become then you should never be able to become a naturalized citizen. Maybe something like that. Just spitballing here. But like there should be really strict rules. If we're opening up the privileges, then access to those privileges needs to be earned in a really serious way. You can't just wander across the border, be part of a mass amnesty, and then run for president.
But let me do this real quick and jump to this tweet. We can carry on the conversation. I want to point out, just because you were born here doesn't mean you will be a good leader, as exemplified by this tweet. Breaking 911 says
true.
the entire administration is incompetent. In this tweet, at POTUS tweets, tune in at 9 p.m. Eastern tomorrow evening for my plan on how we get this done. And as you can see, it was sent at 5:05 p.m. March 6, 2024, to listen to the State of the Union 2023 on February 7th.
Fire the graphic design.
Okay, here's my assumption as to what happened. The metadata on the URL had not been changed when they tweeted this out. So
happens.
Twitter sent last year's
They should
data.
have scraped it. Like, do they not know you can scrape things?
You click a
with
button.
the-
You click debug.
You
You
click it
gotta-
100 million times
At least
often
test
before
it.
it works.
You have
but
to have a burner account.
but
that
like
you
if you're
you can-
posting that, like, don't you see the preview? When I post stuff, I see
Yeah,
a preview,
you're
and a lot
supposed
of
to
times
test
I'm
it.
like, nah, not that. I'm gonna fix it.
I think they deleted this. But
there
the
it is.
conversation we were having was birthright citizenship and the right of people to be president if they weren't born here and things like that. And I just like to ask you a question. Who would you rather have, Joe Biden or Dinesh D'Souza?
Oh, Dinesh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and he wasn't born here. And so
No.
that's an interesting question.
But he's really fascinating and smart.
Right.
Yeah.
And he loves this country and he's fought for this country in ways that we appreciate. And so
It looks like his son-in-law is gonna end up in Congress. He's got a good shot.
oh, right on. But it's an interesting question because I certainly understand the risks of allowing people who aren't born here from being president. But I just love the idea. Like they should have answered this question after the Civil War when they introduced this birthright citizenship stuff. It's like, hey, you do realize if you have to be born here to be president, but anyone who's born here can be a citizen, that's going to create a whole bunch of problems, right?
I think that this comes from the time when, I don't know when this law was made, 200 years ago ish. When people, if they came across the southern border illegally undercover and had a baby, and then they fled back to Mexico, and then they came back 20 years later and were like, they have no way to even show that the kid was born in the U.S. So there's no proof. You need to get there, stabilize, prove it, get documentation, and that's how you would even prove that you were born in the country. Now, with all this new digital tech, cameras and radios and stuff, it's more easy to track if someone was born here, even if they don't go through the work. So it's like we feel like we have to give them these bonuses because of ancient laws. So maybe it is really time to change this law.
I just like the idea of citizenship meaning something again. I mean, you work for it. It's something that you have to earn. You have to at least know what the Constitution says, for example. You have to have some basic understanding of government and the laws and how things function, to run for office or to be a citizen at all, maybe. I mean, there has to be some kind of test, and it's like naturalized citizens go through that. We don't. I mean, we're just born here and that's it.
If you had to choose, if the only two candidates running were Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks and Joe Biden, who would you vote for?
Cenk, probably.
What do you think?
Oh, damn. I don't know. I disagree with everything both of them stand for.
I would
you
probably
not
just
vote?
vote
No, you
for
don't.
Cenk.
That's not true.
It's not true.
But I'll wait. I'll wait to see what Ian says.
Would you not vote for
No,
any
no,
of
no,
them?
no. Answer the question.
Cenk Uygur all the way, man.
Cenk Uygur, no
Cenk.
question.
That's my dude.
I have certainly not voted in the past.
Look. I'll tell, there's two big reasons. I believe he would pardon Julian Assange. Hey, I'll
True.
take it. And he also hates the establishment Democrats. So he'd certainly enact policies and lead this country in a very, very dark, dangerous way I don't like, but better than the uniparty establishment.
Yep.
And like I was saying this with Trump, if you're Antifa, you should vote for Trump. Trump versus Biden, vote for the bull who's going to rampage through the establishment, not the establishment. At least after Trump gets in, you have a chance at changing something. If it was down to the uniparty establishment, Mitt Romney versus Cenk Uygur, I'd vote for Cenk Uygur. I'd be like, well, at least Julian Assange gets a pardon out of it. And I don't know what he would do. Maybe he'd probably pull a lot of our foreign policy, our foreign spending, which is probably good. He'd enact a whole bunch of crackpot policies I don't like. But Biden does that already.
Right.
Open borders and all the other crazy stuff's already happening. So I'll take it.
And
Not
at
that I'm
least
happy about
Cenk
it.
is competent. I mean, he's like mentally,
Can
aware.
I write in myself? I feel like I'd be okay.
I mean, Cenk's a wild guy. Like,
Yeah.
when we had him on the Culture War show, he does this thing where when he encounters an argument he can't handle, he just makes weird noises and he goes, "Doi, doi, 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 doi," and like you're not really talking anymore. But I look,
Certainly
people
not my first choice. But yeah.
look, I want to, I gotta say, like to everybody who's watching, I don't know who would pick Biden over Cenk Uygur.
Maybe
You know,
Jill Biden. That's about
any-
it.
Yeah, no, but I mean,
Maybe
normies,
Hunter.
for sure, normies for sure. But I'm saying of the people who pay attention to politics, it's probably 80-20.
Yeah.
And the 20 is like, no, he's a Marxist. I don't care. I'll take Biden. We can beat Biden, but we don't want a Marxist. And my attitude is like, voting for someone like Cenk rips apart the deep state.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get what you want right away, but it rips apart the deep state to a certain degree.
Right.
Not that I trust Cenk Uygur, but I do think he pardoned Julian Assange. I think that's important.
That's something.
Get
Anyway.
some big
right,
wins.
like,
You
okay,
get
you
a couple
know,
big
like-
wins out of it.
Did you
at least.
confirm that with him when he was on the show?
Yes,
you guys
he said
talked about it?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And foreign war, he said,
Yeah.
yeah, no war. And I'm like, I'll take what I can get. You know
Foreign
what I mean?
policy would be much better.
I don't know if there really are two realities. This came up last night. They were like, we live in two realities,
Right.
or the night before maybe. But it's like Cenk lives in this reality, this like normal, where he can see like, yo,
Yeah,
this
he's
world
aware of
uniparty
what's
is a
happening in
real
the world.
cross-national organizations are happening. Just because it looks like Germany on a map doesn't mean that that's where German authority begins and ends. Like, it's the diaspora is real and it's
Can we
corporate.
can someone say something insulting about Biden's administration's incompetency over this post? Like, it's the little things, you know what I mean?
Yeah, firstly,
I-
they don't have a chain of command. Someone should have seen that. They left it up to one guy to be the mouthpiece of our nation.
Well, I mean, it's just some doofy social media person who's probably some intern, you know, like we have social
Yeah, we
media
know what the
people,
interns
people
are
make
doing, too,
mistakes,
you
but
know?
they fix them right away and they don't make these mistakes.
Also, is
you
it
know
really?
what I mean?
Is it really
Like,
at 9
all.
p.m.?
We all make mistakes.
You know, I got to be honest, because part of me was like, could this be fake? But at Breaking 911 doesn't post fake things.
It could
they
be
always
fake.
post at 9.
That's
I mean,
another-
the State of the Union is always at 9.
I saw on.
I thought it was at 9 last year.
Is that
Maybe
a way
it's
younger
maybe it's
picture
at
of Biden too?
Well, it's certainly.
I mean,
It does say 9 p.m. Down there, but Google said 8 p.m. earlier.
Oh, he's going to give a plan
Is it?
on how he gets it done again. So he's going to give us a campaign speech tomorrow and not tell us about what the State of the Union is. He's not going to probably
it's
talk
9
about
p.m.
the State of the Union. Last time he just used the opportunity to give a campaign speech.
I know, and then we as a primetime show have to listen to him garble and.
So
no,
just-
but Hillary Clinton says that he makes more sense than
But hey,
Donald
wait,
Trump,
hold
so,
on.
You know,
There, who was it who speculated he wasn't going to make it to the past Super Tuesday?
Lots of us.
No. There was some prominent political personality.
me.
I can't remember. They said that they were betting by Super Tuesday Biden is out.
I don't know.
What if the real purpose of the State of the Union
Oh my goodness.
no
is
way.
that Biden standing at the podium says, "My fellow Americans,
I drop out.
it's been a long year, and I think it's important. You know, looking at
I'm suspending my
it's super."
And then Gavin
Wow.
Newsom runs on.
Gavin
that went
Newsom
darker
runs
than
out.
I thought.
Yeah, I was
Gavin
like, what did you
Newsom
guys
gonna
think
be
I
there?
was saying? That he was going to be like, I quit? No.
Yeah, I was
That he's
suspending
gonna
my campaign.
He's going to be standing
He's
there.
all right. He's okay.
And it's
He's
and,
gonna
and,
be okay.
He's going to have like one of those Mitch McConnell moments and then collapse to the ground.
and then Gavin Newsom runs out, rolls up his sleeves, and is
Right.
like,
I'm not a doctor, but I've done this before. Back off. Get out of my way.
"Yep,
He's going to
And
be
then-
all right.
And then that's my proposed scenario hypothesis was long, like not that I think it's actually going to happen, but Gavin Newsom then goes on a PR tour on every major network, every show. Bill Maher's got him on, Jon Stewart's got him on, John Oliver's got him on, and they're all going, "You saved the president's life. How does that feel?" Everywhere. And then there's going to be tributes.
just
They're going to buy
assert it.
billboards, and it's going to be like Gavin Newsom, and they're going to be like, whatever you do now, Gavin, you've saved the president's life. I mean, there are people in this country's history, but not many can say that. And he's going to say, "Look, I'm just a guy, and I did what any good American would do." And then Joe Biden is not going to be dead. He'll be incapacitated. Kamala Harris will step in and say, "It is not my responsibility to run for a re-election. It's to lead this country in this dire time." And then Gavin Newsom says, "I will take up this mantle. I will make that sacrifice."
Oh, the sacrifice. That's the part that would really do it. I think that would be a much fairer race
I don't think it's
than
gonna happen.
like Trump versus Biden. But
Joe Biden's going to come out tomorrow, and
I
his,
don't think
his
so.
teeth are going to be falling out while he talks. And I mean that literally, not
Going
as
to
an
make
insult.
0 sense. And
Does he have-
talk like this. And you know,
does he have fake teeth?
Biden always.
I don't know.
I'm assuming. Didn't
Really?
his teeth fall out in the 2019 debates? He turned around and was like,
Really? Oh, that's creepy.
We'll have to take
"Look,
bets.
I'm not ragging on him. Your teeth fall out when you get
curious.
old. You know what I mean? Like,
he's
Not
an old man.
everybody's. My grandma's teeth didn't fall out for a really long time.
Nice.
She was like 100
Oh wow.
before
Well,
she
you know,
was
there you
getting
go.
like false teeth in there.
I
I
think
don't know. Those look like dentures in that picture. I wouldn't doubt it.
those
Someone
pearly
Google it. Does
whites.
Joe Biden have fake
Yeah.
teeth?
They're a little too perfect.
That's what I'm gonna see if I can Google right now. I wasn't able to earlier.
Yeah, older people still have their teeth, but they're not
Yeah,
like
he has,
perfect.
he has
like, you know,
dentures.
like, yeah,
Oh, he does. Okay.
oh,
Looks
yeah.
like it. Or Biden's
I
teeth
think he'll
real?
say MAGA Republicans. He'll say like kind of like MAGA Republicans like at least 3 times tomorrow.
Ultra MAGA.
Because what else is he going to talk about? If he's going to talk about his plan, is it to get the bad guys, which are domestic terrorists? Like, what's his plan right now? I don't know what their plan is. I haven't heard any plan. Maybe I just haven't been listening.
You know what?
There's no plan.
I could respect Joe Biden. There's if he
Not
came
me,
out,
not
no,
ever.
that's not true. If he came out in like a black leather jacket with aviators on, smiling, and walked up to the podium and just went, I don't actually want to win again. I got one more year. You think I'm wasting my time with this garbage? I'm going to burn this country to the ground. And then I'm going to go off right into the sunset and do a bunch of drugs. I'd be like, I respect the honesty. You know what I
I
mean?
could
Like,
respect it at least.
it won't happen, but you know, a
Well,
person can imagine.
He made raves illegal, so I'll never forgive him for that.
He
He
Raves?
made raves illegal?
When? What happened?
The Rave Act.
What?
You never heard of the Rave Act?
No.
Restricting Americans'
Is this like a Tipper Gore style?
vulnerability to ecstasy act.
What?
That
What?
got pushed into another act. Yeah. If you
Wait
look
a
up-
second. What? Like when does
Dude,
it,
ecstasy,
How do you
firstly-
make raves illegal?
You
Ecstasy's
basically-
already illegal.
Yeah, but you basically don't allow them to throw the events at certain locations. You don't allow them to have nonprofits such as Dance Safe test pills and do other things that make the events possible. You basically undercut the events, and so that really changed underground music. And I love underground electronic music, so I never forgave Joe
Let's
Biden.
When I was in high school, I used to go to we used to drive from Philly out to raves and random airplane
Yeah.
hangars and stuff.
You know why that
let's-
stopped? Because of Joe Biden
Yeah.
and the Rave Act. I swear.
Let's jump to our good friends over at we'll jump to our good friends over at MSNBS here.
This was amazing.
Chad Gilmartin says MSDNC panel mocks the fact immigration is a top issue for voters across the country. This is wild because they insult West Virginians as they're going at it.
I mean, if you look at some of these exit polls, I mean, I live in Virginia. Immigration was the number one issue. I mean, again, these could change in Virginia.
Well, Virginia does have a border with West Virginia. Very contested
You're
area. Build a
thinking,
wall.
like, what? I mean, if you
Okay,
Screw those people.
No, hold on. The one thing I'm going to say is I don't care they're joking. When she was like, they do have a border with West Virginia, it's like, ha, 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 we get it. That's fine. Make a joke, laugh, but she's shocked. She's like, what? That's what she said. She goes, what? That immigration is a top issue. Was it like a 14-year-old girl that just got raped in Virginia by an illegal immigrant?
it's like
yeah, and there's
daily
been
almost
toddlers.
now.
There's been all
I
kinds of
see a news
ludicrous
story
things.
daily about an illegal immigrant killing somebody, raping somebody.
But
It's happening in Europe,
but
too.
hold on. The question
is
is,
happening in Europe.
where in Virginia does Jen Psaki live? Because I'm going to go ahead and assume it's like Arlington, and
Or like-
she's
yeah.
surrounded by big mansions that go back to
Guaranteed.
the 1600s or something.
Or Alexandria in one of those cute
Oh,
little
yeah.
houses in the little old town.
I bet she's in a big. Well, she's well.
You think
well
she's got a
off.
big one?
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
let's see what her net worth is.
If I was really rich,
100%.
I'd still have a little house.
I bet she's worth
A
millions.
little house and a big house?
No, I think I just have a little house.
Well, she probably needs a bigger house for security reasons. Just to,
I don't believe these websites, but this says her net worth is $2 million. I don't believe them because it once said that Ian's net worth was $5 million, and it's way
fluctuated.
more than that.
Didn't even start to begin.
It might actually be
In
way more than that. I don't
Bitcoin?
know.
Yeah.
People think I'm joking, right? We don't know what Ian's doing. No, but it says she's worth $2 million. A good portion's probably in real estate. I imagine she's got like, I don't know, what, like a $600,000-$700,000 house in Virginia, where she's got real. Look, I got to tell you, you go to Reston, and Reston's fantastic, and then what's that one town? Let me pull it up because I'm going to give a shout out to this really amazing little part of the DC suburbs, and I want to make sure it's not Reston. I'm sorry, it's Maryland. It's Potomac.
Oh,
In Maryland.
I do know
so
when
not Virginia.
when I cross into Northern Virginia from West Virginia, it's like you can smell money. You're like,
Oh,
wow,
dude.
that is
So-
so rich. It's so rich there.
Northern.
So
Yeah, it's
Reston is
shocking.
great. It's I mean, these are rich people in very safe areas, hoity-toity, and no disrespect, we got fans in Reston, shout out. And I'll give a shout out. Let me see if I can pull up this. Here we go. Barcelona Wine Bar in Reston, Virginia is like the best tapas I've ever had. We went there like 3 weeks in a row because it was so good.
Oh, I went with you
Good
guys
to
one
Yeah,
time. That
it was
really
amazing.
fun.
And so my point is just, it's very nice.
Right.
Everything's very nice. And so for someone like Jen Psaki, who's got like this political disposition of, why are people so upset about immigration? Well, because she lives in this insulated bubble
She's
world.
sheltered.
Right.
Yeah.
Other people are like watching the news and they're like, oh, another child was raped again. Like, geez, what's going on?
It's not these people's kids that get harmed. You know, it's like poor people's kids
and like
middle class.
Excessive immigration. It's like a flood built. It's like a dam building up. Like the pressure is building and building. It's not like it's just going to be like, oops, now we see what happened. Now let's fix it. It's like if you don't do anything about it and the dam bursts, then all of a sudden you have like gangs in different cities organizing and controlling things with weapon. Like you cannot allow this crazy crap. So I don't know what to do because mass deportations does sound like not the right way to go. That sounds like that's going to be historically remembered as like the day that the United States became the Nazi party.
Why?
Like, fearing that the good guys in their desire to do good end up becoming the evil ones. That story's been told over and over throughout time.
No, I think we need to deport. We need to deport people.
Ian, you're wrong. The saying is, be careful when fighting monsters. You know, because you might lose to those monsters.
Lest ye become one. That is the story. Gaze into the abyss long enough, and the abyss gazes into you. So, in a desire to do right, I don't think that leaving them in this country unattended is the right move. But the idea that we would set up like some police state, spy state to try and find them and then deport them, like then we just have this new infrastructure to deport and destroy other people.
We know where they are. They're in like hotels and we're housing them and paying for that.
We have no choice.
We know where they are.
We have no choice.
We have to deport them.
I think we have to deport as well because the other piece of it too is that's a huge major deterrent. If you look at the family separation thing that happened under Obama and then it happened under Trump, that turned out to really decrease the number of people who came to the border seeking to get in.
Yep.
When we keep extending all of these programs and opportunities and, you know, reversing Remain in Mexico, which was actually a terrible idea to reverse that. When we do all of that stuff, we're actually just encouraging people from all over the world to come in.
But the issue is...
And we have to deter it.
But the issue is you would have to create a massive new police force in order to actually deport 15 or so million people. Dave Smith brought this up last night, and he's correct. Yes, they need to be, if the criminal aliens need to be deported. There's no excuse. If you overstay your visa, you get deported. You're not a citizen of this country. And as Bernie Sanders said, if you have open borders, your country will get poor. That being said, how will this be done is the challenge. And Ian's correct. If I certainly do not like the answer of Trump gets in and then says, I'm going to need, $5 billion to rapidly expand and create a new police force in this country to track down illegal immigrants or to rapidly expand ICE. And then you have to understand what that means. That means you're going to have ICE agents knocking on doors. You're going to have warrants. They will likely have to come to your house.
There's going to be people getting killed. There's going to be law enforcement who will get killed.
What we're asking for, that I don't mind law enforcement. Law enforcement, good thing. Having law enforcement hold people accountable, good thing. Challenge rapidly expanding government power in a short period of time, bad thing.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the metaphor of like your boat is taking on water. It's still taking on water. These are the immigrants coming across the border. So let's get this water out of the boat. But you ever see that meme where the guy's like trying to bail the bucket out of the boat, but it's filling faster than he's able to bail? So like, how do you get all that water out? Well, you can boil it. Well, and if the water is the immigrant, I'm not talking about destroying. Like, there's other ways than grabbing them and moving them. There are other ways. There's got to be.
So the first thing that's happened is we need border security. So when Trump gets elected, here's what he should do. Encourage all southern border states to create their own border barriers. Trump does not need to build a big, beautiful wall from sea to shining sea, 30 feet made of concrete. He can go to all these border states and he can say, do your thing. Because they've already tried and Biden's shut them down. Once you have that in place, you then seek the areas out where they're breaking through, where the criminal aliens, the cartel members are breaking through.
Like that Eagle Pass part.
Right. You stop that. After that, then you start. You can't bail water until you've plugged the leak. You do that. And you don't need, it's funny. Michael Ian Black wrote this really stupid article where he's like, 20 million, you need two police officers for every illegal immigrant to get them all done in a day. And it's like, shut up. He actually said Trump would enlist the Proud Boys. And I'm like, there's like 10,000 Proud Boys.
Well, what about aren't 18-year-olds, male 18-year-olds more conservative than they've been in a long time?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Don't you think some of them would volunteer for some a mission?
Not really.
But we don't need...
Have you met these kids?
We don't need a multi-billion-dollar expansion.
I'm not talking
and
about
we don't need to deport everybody in 1 year. So if we're talking about large-scale deportation, we would need to expand. And I think the answer is actually really simple. After we secure the border, there should be a moratorium on all immigration, a temporary moratorium for
I think that's right.
2 years or whatever. And that means
100%. Legal, illegal.
Absolutely. All of it.
All.
No asylum.
Yeah, until we
There's some
figure out
people
what's
that are
going on.
this
Chill out.
close to finishing their legal immigration, though. Like what?
If you're in process,
That's
you're in
fine. If
process.
you're-
Nothing
Right. No new
nothing
applications.
No new.
Temporarily
Yeah.
until we can figure out what the hell's
figure
going
out
on.
what's going on.
That's right.
Yep. Absolutely.
And then begins
What about
the-
overseas adoptions?
What was that?
No.
Just no, we're not doing that either.
No. And I'm saying for like a year, because we have an invasion at the border,
Yeah.
and the answer is not okay. Now that Trump's in, we'll close the border and then forget about the invasion. No, we need to remedy this.
Man,
A moratorium would free up CBP and ICE to start enforcing the law.
it would be.
We also need to recruit. Like, we do need to have more, people going into the military, National Guard, these certain branches. We possibly even need it to be compulsory. I know people don't like that, but in a lot of countries, it's compulsory to serve at least a year. In the military might be a good idea.
Well,
What do you think of,
here's
like the civil service year?
Yeah, civil service year.
Here's a good super chat. Jason Take says it's pretty simple. He says, fine the tar out of any employer or landlord caught with illegals. No deportation needed. It's actually a really good point. You wouldn't actually need to expand to the tune of millions of law enforcement agents to do this. It could actually be very procedural in that it is a criminal offense to harbor. No fines. No, Jason, no fines. You're close. No criminal action. If your company is caught to have had employed non-citizens illegally, everyone involved in that process is subject to a misdemeanor criminal charge. Misdemeanor. I'm not talking felonies.
Yeah.
You'll get fined, you'll get community service, or you'll get like a month, but nothing crazy. But that simple, hey, it's a criminal act to do this. People are going to be like, no way.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. And then what happens is you might have a hiring director and they're going to take very, very seriously. Do you have an ID? Are you a citizen? You are? Okay. You bring in your ID, you bring your passport. There's not going to be any mistakes. And then anyone else involved in the HR process, if they find out someone was hiring, they're going to be like, I am not going to get charged because of what you're doing. There's no way this is happening. And it would create those deterrents.
This is like, imagine a kid born here illegally, born here, and 17 years go by and they're still hunting.
Wait, born
for him.
here?
Yeah, like his
He's a
mom
citizen.
came across and, whatever.
Well, if you're born
his
here,
mom's
you're a
illegal,
citizen.
but he's
Yeah.
technically not, or he is illegal, came across when he was 2. They brought him across. And now 17 years later, and he's been being hunted again for his whole life. He's been hunted. Like that kind of life. I don't want to make that reality. I just don't know if there's any other way because of what's happened with this illegal invasion.
And I hear you.
You don't even have
but
to
what
be
you're saying to
hunted,
me
but-
right now is someone stole my bike today. But then I realized the person who stole it is happier for having taken it than I am for having lost it.
Well,
So the
the
total
kid-
of happiness
how
is
about
gone.
Kid
this?
wasn't the criminal. That's the
Right,
problem.
but the kids right now, if that happens, I forget what it's called, but that is a real situation where the kid comes over, they're like 2 or 3, but then
That's why they had DACA.
yeah, right, but then they get public education, they get all this stuff until they're 18, and then suddenly, that all runs dry, and now they realize they're illegal. They don't have.
It
they
is
don't
the
have
fault
same
of the
rights.
parents, not us. It is not our fault that a parent broke the law, knowing we as good people would try to create some leeway for their child. It is
There's a
the
huge
utmost
deterrent.
offense to me that there is someone who's like, it's like you got a 30-year-old guy and he's got like a 7-year-old daughter, and he goes, I know that when I break the law, they will come after me and they will destroy me, but my child will have the best future ever and they'll pay for it. And I'm like, you are exploiting
Yeah.
our goodwill.
Yeah.
I say no more.
Yeah,
I say no
no
more.
public education,
100,
no benefits.
Well,
none of
because
that.
it would take not very long for that to be a huge deterrent.
right.
It would take
Right.
like
You
not
get
very
nothing
long.
when you come. You don't know your kids can't go to school,
And you
No,
definitely
can't
don't get
welfare.
$10,000 or whatever that the city of New York is planning to give you. You definitely don't get an Xbox. You definitely don't get all this stuff that the
Yeah.
Chicago is doling out. I think that it would be very painful to watch. Yes, I think you're right about that. I think that our hearts would be broken at watching it. But I also think that it would be a huge
But what
deterrent.
about
let me
the
pull up this
kids that
video.
are killed and raped? I mean,
Let
Yeah,
me pull up this
well,
video.
yeah,
I got
that breaks
a
my
video.
heart.
I agree.
I'm gonna pull up. I got a video here.
He's got a video.
I'm gonna play this video from Wall Street Silver. This exemplifies a lot of what's going on in this country. It ties in with immigration and crime. Here's a man. It's about a guy who bought his groceries and what he's dealing with, and I think many people can relate to this. He can't afford his groceries anymore. He struggles to feed his kids. Check this out.
Am I the only one that feels like they just can't do this anymore? I just got back from the grocery store. Let me show you what I bought. This is all I purchased. That's it.
Talkies.
This is dinner for tonight. A few snacks for my kids they wanted. And dinner for them tomorrow night, the pizza. That's it. Some veggies. I didn't even buy the organic stuff. I bought the cheapest stuff. Bought stuff that was on sale. There's a few things I am picky about ingredients, such as the tomatoes, but that's it. Everything else was the least expensive stuff. Take a guess. Take a guess at what it costs. And you're probably wrong. $123. $123 that
I was
was
gonna
with
say
all
over
my
$100 for
discounts
sure.
for barely 2 nights of dinner. Barely 2 nights. I remember when I could spend about $120 and get groceries for a whole week, and that was breakfast, lunch, and
Not
dinner
very long ago, too.
for all of us. And $123 is going to get me through the next 2 days. I can't do this much longer. Financially, I can't. I don't want to spend the money, but it's also just killing me. And I make decent money, so something's got to give here.
So here's my question. Why should this man pay the bill for the criminal aliens who brought their kids to this country? And we say it's not the kids' fault. They were 6, 7 years old. And I respected that argument maybe 8 years ago. But now we are no longer at the point of being capable of dealing with this. And so this guy, he's American. This country, he inherits, same as all of us.
Yeah.
He has children who will inherit it after him. He's struggling to feed them, even though, as he says, I make good money, but it's $123 for 2 nights of dinner.
Yeah.
And what happens is these people rush our border and think, I will steal as much as I can from the hardworking Americans. I will gut their system and take for myself because I don't care about them.
Yeah.
I don't care about their community. I want. So I am done with the argument that, oh, but these children here, they can't be deported because their parents are at fault. And I'm like, you're right. The child should blame their parents.
Yeah.
When ICE politely comes to them and says, I'm sorry, son, we are struggling. We have fathers and mothers and their children are struggling to eat. I wish we could help you, but we are pushed to our limit. What we're going to do is we're going to find you comfortable transportation back to your home country, and they're going to have to figure it out for you. If you're mad about this, blame your parents.
Well, and
Absolutely.
blame your government for making
it's
making a nation where you don't feel like you can survive comfortably and safely in your nation.
Well, absolutely. And it's not this his kid's fault. This is going on.
But this
so if we
been
were talking
happening-
about the poor kids, what about his kids? Where his dad's struggling to feed them? I mean, we have to think about American children.
Yeah, and this has been happening to everybody, and it's been happening for a few years. I remember watching this happen with my own grocery bill, where it would be like, oh, I'd spend $50, I'd get a ton of stuff,
Oh, it's
and then the
insane.
next time I'd spend $75, and so the next time I'd put a bunch of stuff back, and I'd end up spending $125 for less stuff,
impossible to get
less
there.
expensive stuff, like
Plate-
buying meat.
Here's what we should do. I think we should do this here at Timcast, and maybe someone on the SCNR team. We will put together a basic grocery list: 1 gallon of milk, 1 carton of eggs, 1 loaf of bread, and then what else? What else would be reasonable?
Like the
there?
Sesame Street one.
Maybe
remember?
like a small
Carton
thing of
of milk.
peanut butter,
Yeah.
Stick of butter.
and then
veggies.
a stick of butter,
Carton of milk.
and maybe like a salad and a meat. I think it's
Yeah.
important to get
Some veggies.
yeah. And then what we'll do is every week we will write down the price of these goods.
Oh, like the government does that. But they're not really
right.
doing it very accurately these days.
So
because
we
they're
will
doing it
just
with
say
price.
here in our local area, we have this list, and every week we go out and buy one of these items.
People on the Discord should do it. Get
Right.
like a mass reporting of all over the place.
People should do it all over the country. We could have a map. It'd be cool.
You
That'd be a great
could do it with
website.
your app,
That would
with the
be-
Timcast app. If you
Yeah.
could scan a thing and put it into the
That'd be
database.
really cool.
Actually,
That's a very good idea.
Update the data.
No, an app where people can list the
Yeah.
price of a good. Then you can track down the cheaper prices.
Because if you
That's gotta
scan the
exist, right?
barcode, it would just overwrite
I don't
the
know that
old
it
data.
exists for
Hold on.
groceries.
It
If
does
this- if this-
exist for
But not for
consumer items
groceries,
like
yeah.
computers and stuff. I know you can do that. I don't
Right.
know about.
So if this does not
items.
exist, someone make it and you're rich. An app where it shows you all the local grocery stores, and when you go to the grocery store, you can scan a price from the store and upload it up to the app. Then other people who are at home can type in, I want milk, and see which one has the cheaper prices.
I like it. If it doesn't exist, it should. You're right. I
But
don't know
you'd
if it
have to
does.
update it because if they
You'd have
sold
to have
out,
the data. It'd all be about the data.
and then
yeah.
And
a bunch of people went to
no.
get the cheap milk, but it was already sold out from the last 3
It would,
people.
No. It would say milk $1.99 as of Last update was this time.
The grocery stockers are going to be mad. They're going to be like, "Oh my gosh."
No, I
what's
think
happening?"
the grocery stores will use it and compete with each other.
No, I mean the stockers. They're just going to be like, "This is madness." Yeah.
Why would they care?
Well, they have to restock everything when people come in and they know
Oh,
exactly
sure,
the
I
price
guess.
of
But
everything. Yeah.
you'd end up with the supermarket saying, hey, how come we're not selling any milk? It's like, well, because there's a grocery store a mile down that's selling it cheaper and people are using this app. Grocery stores would load the app, look at neighboring prices, and then lower theirs, and their staff, the manager at the grocery store, would be like, hey, we got carrots cheaper than they do.
Why doesn't it happen with gas though? We already have apps like that, and they're not like the price.
This grocery store app must exist.
I know it must, right?
It
It exists for other things,
other
like if you go to like
things.
Walmart and those types of things you're
yeah,
looking
you
at.
can find like your
Right.
computer, your,
Exactly.
your
Like,
random whatever.
You can scan that stuff and it'll show you, but I don't know about for basic goods, and there's probably a reason why, but I can't think of it.
Apparently, there's 3 of them. This is
There you go. See?
best.
Oh, okay.
Flip
Thank you.
with 2 P's. Apparently, is pretty good.
Okay.
Grocery King.
Okay,
Another
cool.
one is number 2, and number 3 was
I'd even-
Instacart.
Instacart. I'd even really just
Instacart
like
shows
a map.
neighboring supermarkets and like compares their
these
prices.
these are the 3 that came up about grocery store price
It
comparison.
makes sense
apps.
for their margins, I guess. They'd have to.
There you go.
What would you say? The last thing you said?
I'd want just even a map of the cost of everything and a chart showing how it's going up and down over time.
Yeah,
I'd be
just like an
interested in that.
inflation on basic
Because
goods.
you
yeah.
have you
Yeah.
keep having, like the Washington Post and other outlets saying that inflation isn't even really happening, or you had when Janet Yellen was saying that inflation was transitory, and you have all of this spin about inflation and grocery prices. And meanwhile, we all know, right? Like the people who go to the grocery store and buy food for their kids and look at the prices, you can see how much they're going up. You can see that a carton of eggs is like $8
Yeah,
or
it's
whatever.
insulting
at a
when these
certain
elites,
point,
like, say
at,
that,
at a
yeah.
certain point, if a default lib has not realized they're being lied to, there is no saving them.
That's
Inflation is transitory. I remember that. That was years ago.
right.
And it's not. And
Nope.
it's gotten worse.
Yep.
I love when they're like, inflation's cool. I'm like, yes, but the prices are still up. And then Biden goes, we know these companies are making the boxes smaller. Knock it off. It's like, dude, because that's inflation. They can't just stop doing that.
He said that with gas too. He's like, well, why don't they just lower the price then? The gas station should just lower the price.
And if you're dumb enough to be like, yeah, Biden's right, well, there's no helping you.
Yeah,
There's
that's
no helping a lot
problem.
of people, sadly. Yeah.
That's sort of the issue that we're facing in this exceedingly long general election. Is there anyone who could conceivably be swayed from one side to the other? Whose votes are they really fighting over? Or is it really just fighting over how many people or how many votes, how many people each candidate can get out to go to the polls? Which
It's voter turnout. Yeah. I mean,
and it's got to be voter turnout in
just
what,
voter
5
turnout.
states? It's literally
Yeah.
voter turnout in
And it's
5
only in the
states.
ones that you have a chance to swing it. Yeah.
Lauren Chen asked a question. She did a Twitter poll. It's a famous question. You probably already know it. And the question is, if you did not eat breakfast yesterday, how would you feel? And the choices are, I did eat breakfast, I don't know, hungry, and show results. 18% said, I did eat breakfast. 13% said, I don't know. I think 20-something% said hungry, and then a decent amount said, show the results. The point is, it's part of an IQ test question, because people who are of lower IQ would answer, I did eat breakfast. And that shows that they could not entertain a hypothetical.
They couldn't handle the question.
The problem I have with the question is I don't eat breakfast ever.
Right. A lot of people don't.
Yeah,
Even
so
fasting.
right. So the question, I understand the point of the question. The answer is like you give it, you entertain the hypothetical. My response would be, I don't eat breakfasts.
Yeah, it's not an option.
So
You see results,
I
so
would
you see
feel the
results.
exact same.
I would feel the same as I do now, yeah.
But that answer is acceptable because the answer is, did you understand the hypothetical? Lower IQ people don't understand the hypothetical and typically respond with, but I did eat breakfast. You go, right, but what if you did? But I did eat breakfast.
So how could I
those are
possibly,
Democrat
How would you
voters.
feel?
right?
Yeah.
How could I possibly imagine something other than the reality that existed?
That's not
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's the super brain where they're like, I reject the premise of the question entirely. They
just leave a
refuse to
reply.
participate.
They just
So it's
leave
like
a reply.
when the brain is fully lit up, they're like, not only can I entertain it, I can also choose to not answer the entertainment because I disagree with the question itself.
Actually, that's the midwit response.
I don't think so.
It is.
It takes a strong
So-
mind to be able to not answer a question the way it's presented to them.
That's actually the midwit response. I'm not making a joke, and I'm not being insulting. I'm not being silly. People of slightly above average intelligence think deconstruction is a sign of intelligence, but it's not. So actually what you'll see with people who are lower intelligence is they can't entertain the hypothetical. average to slightly above the midwits will be like, well, actually, let me say this about your question. And then smart people instantly understand, they don't waste time. They say, hungry.
Oh, well, I'm saying if I scrolled and I saw, if you murdered a person yesterday morning, how would you feel? I would just scroll right past it because I'm third level. I don't even entertain.
We're not
I
talking
see
about
it,
that.
I entertain, I can visualize it, and then I move on.
That's not what we're
But if
talking
you
about.
didn't eat breakfast yesterday, why would you be hungry? Did you also not eat lunch or dinner?
Well,
Or breakfast today?
The point of the question is your answer isn't multiple choice in real life. It's, do you understand the hypothetical?
Yes.
So my response to that is like, well, I don't eat breakfast, so I'd feel the same. But you're answering the hypothetical.
Right.
I would feel the same as I always do. Versus the midwits tend, like this is what we see often with woke people. They're midwits. Midwit does not mean stupid. It means their IQ is about what? No, it means their IQ is 110. They're slightly above average. And because they're slightly smarter, they think of themselves very highly, but they're actually not that smart. So when it comes to a simple question, a smart person says, efficient answer. What's the point? A stupid person says, I don't understand. And a midwit gives you a long, elaborate waste of time. It's kind of like leftist memes. Verbose, full of text, and pointless.
Those are amazing.
Whereas
they take forever.
you have very,
awful.
very, very intelligent people who are like, I get the joke. Like, I don't know what you want me to say. Why am I wasting anyone's time? They're smart enough to realize, like, I get it. You know, and I'm sure everybody has dealt to a certain degree with this, where you're talking to someone who thinks they're really smart, and they will, no matter how many times you go, I get it, I get it, I get it. They just keep saying it over and over again because they think
Trans women are women.
they think they're smarter than you, and they'll say something and you go, I understand what you're saying. I reject your argument on these grounds. And go, no, you don't get it. You see, the thing is, you're like, right.
No, I get it.
Right. That's what we're dealing
Talking
with.
to an average leftist, yeah.
So I think I'd be willing to bet that the average in IQ, not that I weigh IQ all that much because it's hard to know exactly how they're administered, but I bet if there was a universal metric that was like a standardized, you can say IQ, Democrat voters probably skew slightly lower than conservative Republican voters, but not by much. It's probably like 99 to like 101 or something. However, when I'd be willing to bet that if you got into the core of prominent personalities on the right versus the left, because the right includes academics, it includes post-liberals, libertarians, you'd probably see higher intelligence, reasoning, comprehension, spatial math, etc. And among the leftist personalities, they'd be midwits. They would not be stupid, but they'd be lying.
Interesting.
What do you think about, what about voters versus non-voters, or, main party voters, like Republican, Democrat versus third party voters?
I don't think you'd see a distinction.
None.
There's a lot of really stupid people who are, just like, I'll vote. And there's a lot of smart people who are like, I don't see a point in voting. Your view on whether or not to participate in a first past the post electoral system, I don't think is indicative of how smart you are. Dave Smith was saying the other day that he thinks the system is busted, and he's a very smart guy.
Yeah.
No, I was.
Well, the system is
I was thinking
busted.
I was thinking non-voters would be actually a little bit smarter.
I do too. I think that if you're obsessed about your one vote, then you're missing the point. You got to manipulate crowds of people to vote the way you
I
want.
remember there were posters like up when I went to school at UC Santa Cruz, very leftist place, but there were these posters that somebody posted everywhere, and it was like arguing don't vote. It was like, don't vote, it's pointless. And they were like, they posted it like everywhere. And I was like, that's interesting. I didn't really think about it much because I was a dumb college kid. But
the sort of thing about not voting is like, not voting is saying that you are not going to, show your consent to a governmental system that you don't agree with.
maybe there could be so many
Or that you
reasons to
don't
not vote. You
believe
could
in.
just be lazy.
Right,
But,
sure.
but if you have a real reason,
sure.
yeah.
I mean, but then the whole thing with like get out the vote. You remember when
vote or die. How about that? Remember that?
there was like Paris Hilton was get out the vote and all of this stuff. So you end up with this get out the vote situation, and you end up with a lot of low information voters who go out and don't necessarily know anything about the candidates that they're voting for.
We need to make it as hard as possible to vote.
I think there should probably be voter ID. I didn't used to think that, but I do think that now.
Maybe like a basic test.
No, there should be voter pole vault.
Voter poll vault.
Yeah, if you can't get over at least, look, I don't know.
I'll
something
never
small,
vote again if
5
there's voter poll vault.
5 feet.
You can only vote, but you got to swim to the bottom of the pool. And then you got to vote while you're down there
your
holding your
ballot
breath.
down there. Like that's where the pen
And then you got
is.
to climb the rope to the top of the tree house.
No. Your ballot is 100
but
meters
the pen
underwater.
is up in the tree, so then you got to get the ballot, and then you only have
answer some
30
basic
minutes.
questions.
It's an American Ninja Warrior course.
We're led by geniuses.
The
How
pen,
many genders are there?
The pen is taped to the side of the spider wall. So you're like going through and then you grab the pen and then you find the pad of paper, but you got to swing to the top to get it. You got to do the salmon ladder to actually put it in the box. And then to hit submit, you've got to make it to the end.
And then you hit the big red button.
There would
and it
be
submits
like,
your vote.
there would be like, I don't know, 10,000
10
voters.
people voting.
Yeah.
That's it.
How many?
Bunch
So
of
there'd
people
be
would die. There'd be
registered.
like 50 people died voting today.
Would you call them like registered? People would register to vote, but then it was up to them if they could succeed. They registered for the course.
I got a better idea. It's not American Ninja Warrior. It's MXC. Remember that?
No.
No, what's MXC?
That was it was this really silly version
extreme,
where people would dress up like samurais or like hot dogs.
Most
trying to-
extreme elimination challenge.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
And it was like people dressed up in weird things and like try to run across.
It was 2003 to
Got it.
07.
Slippery stairs.
Spike
Slippery
TV. That was a good
stairs.
year.
Slippery stairs.
To get up to
It's-
vote?
Yeah. So it's a set of
All
stairs.
people are out of all of these ideas.
And they're drenched in oil, and you're wearing a suit, and you have to climb to the top to submit your vote.
What if you can only vote while you're sleeping? If you can realize you're dreaming, so it's only people that are able to tap into their
lucid
lucid
dream? Okay.
state.
Only
Lucid
dream
dreamers
voting.
can
Yeah.
vote. I
And
think
we'll have
we'd
a-
end up with a really weird
a nation of weirdness.
electorate at that point.
Yeah, we
It'd
need
be
that right
wacky.
now.
It'd be pretty fun.
Some deep thinkers.
The harder it is to vote, the better off we are. Not in the terms of like making people do American Ninja Warrior.
You know what else you have though is you have a lot of stupid people who are poll workers. Have you ever seen this? I was trying to vote at one point in New York on Lori's side, and I go in and I'm waiting in line, and the people in front of me. You don't need a voter ID in New York. That's just part of it. You don't even need to read or write to vote in New York. You can sign your name with an X if you have to. So that's just a law. So there was these ladies in front of me, and the poll workers were preventing them from voting. They were like, "You need to show your ID." And the ladies were like, speaking Spanish, we don't need to show our ID and all this stuff. And they were arguing and they started turning the ladies away. And I was like, you guys, the law, they don't need ID to vote. What are you doing? How many people are you demanding ID from to vote?
Conservatives.
Who are you, who are you? These were not conservative women who were turning the Spanish women away. They were literally just stupid and they didn't know how to do their job. They had been poorly trained.
Yeah.
They had no idea what was going on. It was sort of shocking to see how poorly trained the poll workers are at so many levels. That's why I don't always believe in conspiracies, because at so many levels, it's just straight up incompetence.
Yeah.
Yeah. People are
Layers and layers
What
of
if-
incompetence. Like Biden's stupid social media person.
I figured it out.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone can vote, but your ballot is on a pedestal and it's in a room with like 15 dogs.
You know what it is? It's at the center
here's
of
the
the
thing.
labyrinth, and you have to
What
fight the
breed?
Minotaur.
Because if the dogs accept you, you must be a good person.
Are they all the same breed?
So dogs
just
decide who gets
That's
to
right.
vote.
Dogs do.
Which
And so if
kind
you
of
go
dogs?
in-
What kind of dogs?
all different
All
kinds.
different kinds.
Because
All
they know.
different kinds.
They know. You walk in.
Are
You're,
you allowed
and
to
you're-
bring a treat?
You're allowed
no.
to bring a steak. You have to like,
Around
and
your
then it would be
neck.
like, no. Then Kathy
Wait.
Hochul will deploy the National Guard
I
to
got a
search
better one.
voters for steaks.
You have to successfully give. There's 10 cats, and you have to
Yeah.
give at least 3 a belly rub successfully without getting clawed.
Without
and if you
getting
do,
scratched.
without getting scratched,
And we'll trust you with the military codes.
and then we'll try.
Yes.
Then you can vote.
Show some compassion, you
And
animal.
then everyone gets to watch to make sure. And the cats are all lying there with their paws up because everybody knows you go for the belly and they start going at you. But
They sure do.
if you're careful and the cats like you, they'll you know. you gotta-
That's
you gotta
tough. That might be like running for president as the cat challenge. Maybe the dog one is for voting, and then but to run
In
for
or-
president, you
right.
gotta do the cats.
in front of a crowd of like 10,000 people.
On the debate stage.
Did you guys
Yeah,
ever,
yeah.
ever
Live,
watch
live.
Stan Lee's Superhumans? The Stan Lee, the guy from Marvel Comics.
Yeah,
used to be
and there was a guy who could give cats belly rubs.
Yeah, he
without
would
getting
go
scratched.
around and find these humans on
really?
Earth that had like bizarre powers. It's all on the internet. It's this show, Stanley Superhumans. One dude like magnetically put like a pot to his head. One guy could put animals to sleep. Like he would walk into a field and start waving his hand like this.
Animal whisperer.
and then all the animals one by one start to lay
That's
down.
Reiki, actually.
And the farmers
Yeah.
are like, we've never seen this before. And
That's
the guy's
called
just
Reiki.
like,
I've seen people do that.
he's doing the
It's
Zen
crazy.
treatment.
Reiki
Yeah.
is wacky.
You know what
I've
I
had
think
that
he was
done
doing?
before. It's weird.
I think he was gassing them.
You got to check it out. It's so wild.
You ever watch
one by one they lay
you ever
down.
watch
He's drugging them?
You ever see the great
like
Randy? Serge, you know who that is? The great Randy or whatever I think his name was. He would debunk these people claim they had magic powers.
Oh, it wasn't on British TV.
I don't
Remember
know.
that? I don't remember anymore.
There was
I
a
don't
guy
know.
who claimed he had telekinesis and he could move a phone book page with his hand. He was just blowing on it.
Really?
Yeah, he was like, "Watch this." And he was like,
Dude.
Can he do anything else? Though I would ask immediately. I'm like,
and
"Do
so
something
then
else." Yeah.
I think his name was the Great Randy. He's like, "I'm gonna put styrofoam packing peanuts around the phone book, and if you really are moving the page, these won't move at all. But if you're blowing on it, they'll all move." And then it's like, "I can't do it now." And I'm like, "That's really dumb because if I was just blowing on it carefully, I would be like, that's not how energy works. Energy will move everything around it the same as, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And then I would do it and they'd move and I'd be like, doesn't prove anything.
Yeah.
Although, honestly, blowing on a phone book page to make it spin or to turn is really dumb.
It's the old
Not really
old
useful
Canadian guy, I
skill.
guess.
It's the worst super.
Well, aside from, I think we're good on our wacky ways to have civic engagement. Let's talk about this story. From NBC News, Governor Kathy Hochul sending National Guard members to New York City subways to combat ongoing crime. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, problem, reaction, solution. The Democrats, all about their bail reform, let criminals run rampant on the street. Then, when everyone freaks out because crime is through the roof, they bring in the military, and everyone's supposed to smile and accept it. This is how you get martial law.
This is exactly what it is. And they created this chaos. They created this chaos in New York City. They did this on purpose. You have, subway workers getting slashed in the neck. You have people getting pushed into subway tracks. You have people, raping women on subway platforms. All of this madness, people getting shot on subway platforms in the Bronx, all over the place, total destruction. And so what they do now to fix the problem that they created is they violate your rights even more than they already did by destroying the safety of the city. I've had situations where, because they did this bag check thing a while back in New York when I was living there. And I've walked into the subway and had cops be there and be like, we're going to check your bag. And I'd be like, okay, well, I'm leaving. I don't even have anything in my bag, but like, I just can't do it. And so I'll leave and they'll be like, well, now we think you're suspicious. And I'm like, I don't have to take the subway. It's my right to walk 100 blocks instead of taking the subway. And I would rather do that than have you look at the crap in my bag, which is like, what? There's like nothing in there. So it's very offensive to have your stuff
750
searched.
National Guardsmen.
There's absolutely no reason for this at all. Did you see also the other thing they did in New York is they came up with these surveillance robots, and they put the surveillance robots, millions of dollars, surveillance robots for a trial program, and they just carefully at the end of the trial program realized that it was a totally garbage idea that was ineffective entirely, and took the $1 million robots out of the subway system. Everything they're doing, the city was perfect. And they destroyed it little bit at a time over the past 5 years. They just completely, systemically ruined the most wonderful city on the face of the earth on purpose so that now they can do what you were saying. They can institute martial law. They did this after 9/11 too. There were guys you were there, right?
No, I wasn't.
No, weren't you at Occupy?
That was
like 10 years later.
That was 10 years later.
Okay.
This reminds me of post 9/11.
They had military guys out there on the corners with giant rifles.
Oh, yeah.
And it was terrifying.
I worked down there at Ground Zero. They were just dudes in
it was
fatigues.
everywhere. It reminds me of post 9/11. You go to the airport, it's just full of military. You're like, what is happening? And you just feel like you're at war constantly. And that's how I guess they want people to feel like they're in fear. I don't know. I mean, who wants to live in New York this way, though?
This is
like, who wants to live like this?
This is the entry level martial law. People need to understand history is condensed. Martial law is not going to be Kathy Hochul coming out with a gavel or with an iron gauntlet and banging on the table and being like, the military rules you now. Ha ha ha. It's going to be for your safety because of the crime. We are bringing in the National Guard to keep you safe.
That's how she phrased it this morning when she talked about it.
And then a month from now, she's going to say, the widespread success we've seen in the subway has many people asking for an expansion of our National Guard program. 750 additional guardsmen will be added to certain street corners in the city. And then a year later, your police have been replaced by National Guard.
Or robots. Basically,
or robots and
National Guard.
No,
the robots
National Guard driving the robots in mech suits.
What they need to do
in a warehouse somewhere controlling them like a video game.
No. Because if they allow the National Guardsmen to pilot the mech suits, the recruitment numbers would skyrocket.
Especially if they drone pilot them and they didn't have to go into combat. They could just be in a machine in a building.
You're in a warehouse somewhere just playing a video game.
If they said you can remote control a robot, some people would be like, sure, I guess. If they said enlist and we'll give you an Iron Man suit. Boom.
And it does have a jetpack.
A jetpack. Yeah, must have a jetpack.
Both stabilizers on the back and on the feet. What they need to do is plexiglass these subways, all of them in New York right now, and every other major metropolitan city in the United States. And you start plexiglassing your subways.
Ian, that costs money.
Yes, it does, and so does having National Guard stand by. And it's going to cost a lot more in human sacrifice to make these people stand there and push and pull at other humans. You need plexiglass. DC does it at the airport. We've done this ourselves. This is the same crap.
What do you mean?
You need plexiglass walls so you can't fall into the subway track. They have plexiglass walls all along, except for where the doors open. There are plexiglass doors that open.
People getting robbed.
It stops people from getting pushed onto the tracks.
Okay,
that's basically what that would stop.
You know You know what I'm
getting pushed in
realizing?
front
But
of
that's like a
tracks.
cool way to like commit suicide if you're like, like
Well, you know,
just kidding. In a video game.
what I'm realizing is
Nice save.
that the what they're doing as Democrats in New York would be really great for someone who runs a business when you're trying to implement policies. You know what I mean? Like they get rid of the police, allow crime to run rampant, and then when everyone complains, they go super heavy-handed and bring in National Guard.
This is the-
I got to utilize this strategy here
Dude,
at Timcast somehow.
it's the most basic. This is what they're doing with the illegal immigration. If they really want mass deportations, dude, you're going to see guardsmen on your lawn being like having the authority to walk into your, like, that's the slow creep. And I feel like I'm like, hello, everyone. This is here's a blueprint of your demise. Avoid it. And people are like, and you're like, dude, this is so odd. I don't
imagine. So
Yeah, get
listen.
mad, honestly.
As our earlier super chatter already pointed out, there is a way to deal with the immigration crisis that doesn't involve deploying National Guard and massive expansion of government, and that would be just make it a criminal offense to. It already is illegal to employ.
You have to fill out I-9 forms.
Right, but
Yeah.
it's like a civil violation. It's like you get fined.
Yeah.
Now make it jail time, and it stops.
And you only get fined if they come check your I-9 forms.
Yeah.
Because all
Sure.
you have to do is have your I-9 forms on file. And if
But-
and there's like,
But I do agree with
nobody
Ian.
ever comes to
No, they don't
check.
check.
If Trump comes out and says, I will be invoking the Insurrection Act to deploy the military to begin the process of mass deportation, I would have very serious concerns about that. And my first demand is, I wouldn't say no to it. I would say we need strong civilian oversight that can override this in the event of a certain number of grievances very, very quickly. We do need to deport. I don't think it's a bad idea to utilize the law enforcement capabilities we have. I don't know if you can use, under Posse Comitatus, Army for this unless Trump invoked the Insurrection Act. National Guard could theoretically be utilized for it, but I think you would need civilian oversight to a very, very high degree if something like that were to happen.
Yeah, man. This is I was listening to Brett Weinstein, one of my favorite people. If you
Yes,
guys don't know
I
Brett,
love Brett.
Watch Brett Weinstein. He's
Pacific
like
Northwest,
becoming
100%.
more and more convinced. He's from the Northwest. Yeah. he is.
Yeah.
It seems like he's becoming more and more convinced that there's a transnational organization or disorganization, but there's groups of people that are multinational that are overseeing this weirdness. Like, why is there a mass open-ended immigration into the country when they need soldiers and a reason to crack down on the population? Like, why did they put the Patriot Act into place? Why are they now turning their international spying on domestic spying as feared? Like, why is this all happening? I bring it up not to make a point, not to say this is what's happening, but people like Brett, just basic evolutionary biologists, are like, yo, bro, this is just bigger than countries. You look at the map, and I said it earlier, like, just because the lines of Germany look like where they're at doesn't mean that that's where German influence begins and ends. And the corporations don't have borders. We don't see the influence of these things, although we know that they're there. And okay, I'll tell you what I think. I think it's intent. I think that we are literally being stripped and sold out into some new corporate global governance, and it is fucking terrifying
I don't
because
like
I don't
that
know how to
because-
preserve.
Yeah, and I feel very strongly that as Americans, we are absolutely not beholden to any law outside of our borders. I mean, unless we're like in those places. But international law, I feel like we should not submit to that ever.
We're the law of man, the law of nature, hunger. We're susceptible to the law of nature.
Sure, but I'm talking about like man-made laws.
Right, but the law of money, if we're stripped of our economic prowess by these external forces because we don't play rules by them, then we're left to like, at least maybe Congress could create our own money for us or something, as it's really what it's supposed to have done from the beginning.
Don't we have that?
It's supposed to be, but they gave it to the Federal Reserve in
Right,
1913.
Yeah, I guess
Some
that makes
private
sense.
companies been doing it for us. I don't normally talk this long on this show because I'm not politics isn't really my thing, but yeah, man, I'm really at a loss.
How would you react if they wanted to search your bag in the subway?
I'd show it to them and walk on.
You'd just show it to them and get on the subway.
I don't think I'd
Yeah.
go on the subway. I would just avoid it.
I've been there, done that.
I've
I got a
walked
bag.
so
I'd be
many
like, you got
extra
a bus.
blocks, you know?
They searched me. Okay, post 9/11, I was 19. Yeah, no, 18, 19. And that whole year, I was on some kind of list. Kim Iverson said the same thing to me. We were both on this some sort of list where we got searched 3 times every time we flew, and I was
That's
flying all the
crazy.
time. And it was only from LA to Vegas. Those are my flights. That's like 45-minute, an hour flight.
Did you fly there's a company that does private jets, but they're commercial and super cheap. and they fly on the West
I don't
Coast. I
know,
forgot what
this
it's called.
was 2001, so, and I was 18,
Oh,
19.
okay. No, that was a very long time ago.
But no, I got searched 3 times. So you guys, when I get checked in, go through everything, like go through my underwear, not even kidding, go through security, got searched again. Before I get on the plane, they'd bring like 5 people aside and they'd search everyone, and I'd ask them, like, you're on this list? Yeah, I'm on this list. I'm like, okay.
Did you ever figure out
a
what the list
teenager.
was?
No, nobody knows. It was just random. They kept saying
Was
random.
it like
I
your
would
name?
ask.
I had a friend, and her name was Allie, but it was spelled Ali. And she was on like all of these do not fly type of lists. She was constantly getting flagged for everything. And she was like, I'm just this girl from North Carolina.
My name's
like,
Heidi Briones. I don't think
Right?
that sounds
Ali? Ali? She's like, no, it's Allie.
Allie.
Like,
It's
get
just
it straight.
Allie, like Allison, except my parents were lazy and
I've
just
been-
named me Allie.
I've been getting like flight fatigue, travel fatigue from I guess security fatigue from all having to take my shoes off, go through, take my
Yeah.
jacket off, take my fanny
I start
pack
getting
off.
angry. Do you get
take
angry?
stuff out,
I get like mad.
frustrated.
Sometimes. They start yelling at you and they're like, go faster. And you're like, "Shut up."
And now
Well,
I'm seeing
I-
these big machines that scan it all for you. Like, you don't even have to take your laptop out. We're just going to scan everything that
Oh,
you've got going
yeah.
on. I'm like, good. In my mind, I'm like, thankful that I don't have to take my shoes off.
But then
in
again,
reality,
yeah,
it's like they got me
less
begging for
privacy.
my own.
You
Yeah,
guys,
it's
you
less
got it
privacy.
all right. It's easy. Okay, you don't have to do any of that. All you have to do is register with the government and go in for a screening, and then you never have to do that again. Isn't it much easier?
Get your
just to,
real ID. Is that what it is?
No, I got
No,
TSA
the
pre.
TSA, I have that
TSA
too.
pre.
TSA pre, and now they introduced Clear several years ago.
Is that better? Do you have that too?
No, it is the biggest. I got rid of it right.
Is it where they scan your eyeballs?
Clear is a biometric. So when I did it, when they first launched, they said, with Clear, you go right to the front of the line. And what I thought they were saying is, TSA pre is great. You go in for a screening, you file the paperwork, and then whenever you do security, you're gonna take your shoes off, you're gonna take your laptop out. It's a shorter line because we know who you are. I said, okay, I'll do that. When Clear came out, I was like, oh, this must be one better. Where if you use your biometrics, you get to walk right in. They're not worried about you. Wrong. Clear is literally you just paying extra money to cut in front of other people. But that only really matters. Like, so I go to the airport and I'm traveling and there's a huge line. And the people who are selling Clear are like, if you had Clear, you'd be in the front of the line. I thought they were saying they escort you through security. Like they do a quick screening and they walk you right in. You got to wait. You don't got to do anything. No. So I signed up. It was like $200. Scanned my hand, and I was like, okay, now what? And they're like, come with me. They walked up an empty line.
Separate line, yeah.
No, there was nobody in line. And and they're like, there you go. And I'm like, what just happened? And they were like, now you can go in. And I was like, but I could have always just gone in. And so I just canceled right away. I was like, okay. What it does is, if TSA pre has a huge line, or the regular security is a huge line, they personally escort you to the front of the line. That's it. You're paying for that. That's it. And you got to give them your hand scan.
$200 a year.
Here's the thing though. It's something like that. I didn't care about giving my hand biometrics because the federal government already has it. I worked for O'Hare Airport.
Fingerprints.
I worked at
Right,
O'Hare.
right.
So they already have my full handprints. Like the way you would check in at work is they had a box and you put your hand on it. It scanned your hand. And this was back in 2000. What was this? 2004? 2004, 2005, 2006. So that's been there forever. The funny thing about the airport, though, I'll give a shout out. It's been 20 years, so maybe they fixed it. But they would tell us you have to go through security every time you come in. If you drive into O'Hare to work, there's no security. You pull up to a checkpoint, you hand them your ID, they scan it, you go on in. If you have contraband in your car, they don't check for it ever. You then get an employee bus that brings you to the terminal that you're going to, and you walk in and you're in.
Sounds like the White House.
So here's the other thing. They say, but you have to go through
That's
security.
where they found the white powder.
So
less-
if you
less
take
of that,
the train in, you have to go through TSA security, same as everybody else. Here's the best part. The bag room has a door, a regular door that goes from the public area where there's no security screening and the secure area where all the bags are. You can literally just swipe your card to the door and open it, walk in. And I asked him about this. I was like, you say I got to go to security, but I'm working bag room tomorrow morning. Can't I just go to the door and swipe my ID card and walk in? And they go, you're not supposed to do that. And I'm like, but I'm working in that room. You want me to go up, go to the security, go all the way down and around, then walk back 2 inches from where I was just standing. And here's the other thing. The bag room where the bags come out in O'Hare, it's like a doggy door. A human being can literally just walk through
Yeah,
the
I thought
hole.
about that.
I was like,
Interesting. Yeah.
whatever. I think the security is all a big lie.
Also, people can walk out with your bags. every time I get off the
Easily.
plane, I'm
They
like,
don't do the check-in
right.
anymore. Remember when they
They're-
used to check
no, but
your little
they used to
tag,
check
right?
your little tag.
They used to check your tag. They don't do
anybody,
that.
anybody, like even
Yeah.
a like
that,
bald government
congressional-
employee, a bald
Some guy walks
a guy
in
who
off the
works for
street.
Joe Biden, a guy who works for Joe Biden can walk in and take your bags
And
wear
he
your
could have
clothes
lipstick
TV.
on. He could have he'd be wearing
Yeah.
red lipstick even.
He was
that guy.
taking women's clothes. You would find some
What's that
well-dressed.
guy's name?
The baggage area is a public area.
Brent,
you have
Sam
you have
Brent.
illegal immigrants sleeping out in the airport.
Now,
Yes.
Yeah.
You can walk in from outside into
just
the
go to the
baggage
back-
area,
hang out there.
steal a bag,
Grab
and
a
people
bag.
can leave.
People.
That is crazy.
That is.
Our
that's-
society is like 1900s society right
Did
now.
anyone else get fingerprinted by when they were in elementary school and like your class took you on a field trip to the police office and everybody at the
Yes.
police station, everyone got fingerprinted?
We were at the
Yep.
mall, and my mom took me. It was like
Your mom took
yeah, it was
you?
like I think we did it for some program with the school, but we
My
did it at the
whole
mall.
my whole school got fingerprinted at the police station.
Dude, they're getting you. They're
I kind of I
priming
feel like
you.
we did that.
when I was
Submit.
like in 5th grade or something.
I know when I was a baby, we
weird.
got our footprint.
Right, but that was to be cute.
Yeah, that's cute. Yeah, that's pretty.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's like so,
Be like,
no,
"Look."
no. This
no,
was
not that.
No?
Oh, you mean like for on your birth certificate? They don't do
No.
that anymore.
No, if I could,
I'll let you talk, sorry.
Yeah, it's for security in the event a child was kidnapped. They would take your footprint,
That
put the
makes
baby
sense.
foot on the ink, and then put it on the paper.
Okay.
I don't know if I
Yeah.
ever got that.
I don't know if I got that either. There's definitely not any of that on my birth certificate.
I
But I
have it
was
in my
born
baby
in
book. I
Yeah.
do.
This was back
was born
during
in a
the
janky
stranger
place.
danger scare when they were like,
Well,
they're
it's
coming
even
for our
worse
kids.
now. I mean,
And they'd be on TV and they'd be like, it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
that was a
remember
good.
that
That was a good
definitively.
campaign. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not bad.
Don't talk to
when the
strangers.
street lights go off, you got to get home, right? That's
Yeah.
that kind of stuff was good. We don't do that anymore. Now they're like, whatever.
Yeah, we don't have like public service announcements anymore.
No, or just like
Well, where would they
cultural
even be?
memes.
We're so dissociated.
I feel like we haven't talked at all about Civil War, and it's been so long that
kinda
I'm
nuts,
starting to
actually.
get a.
We should go for it.
A
Okay, you're
brain
getting a tick.
Are you
about to
straight?
burst
Like-
in my skull. We have the story from the Daily Mail. Goodbye, America. A quarter of U.S. adults want their state to secede. Texans, Californians, and New Yorkers are closest to the exit. But can you guess which state wants out the most?
Maine.
I think
Joke.
everyone here already knows. But chat, if you are listening, chat which you think, which state. I mean, people can already see it actually.
Yeah, it's on there.
Well, here you go. It's Alaska.
Oh, yeah.
And I encourage Alaska to, I encourage any state to do what they want to do. But I got to tell you, I don't think Alaska survives if they secede.
Unless they become part of Canada.
Or Russia.
No, I don't even.
I don't think they would survive it, but they could try.
If they became part of Russia or Canada, it's still going to be dependent upon aid. So I went to the town of Barrow, which has been renamed Utqiagvik, which is its actual original regional
Okay,
name.
Aboriginal name.
And no,
No.
that's Australia.
Okay.
Yeah, Alaska is Inuit.
Okay.
Actually, I don't even know if it's Inuit. I think it's something else. It actually is not Inuit. It's something else.
Well, you're not allowed to say Eskimo anymore, even though Eskimo was an Algonquin word that meant eaters of raw meat.
I just like Aboriginal. I just like the way it sounds. So.
That's definitely
Inupiaq. It is Inupiaq.
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 Not
Okay.
Inuit.
That's a
Inupiaq.
word I have
Wow,
never
okay.
heard before.
So they just recently started daily flights in and out of Utqiagvik, and that's now how they're able to have a lot of food and resources. It used to be that a gigantic ship would come around and they would celebrate the once a year dropping off of like refrigerators and washing machines, and that still is somewhat the case. I'm told. I've only been there one time. But now that they have planes that come and go, a lot of the basic goods and smaller electronics just get brought in every day. If Alaska was no longer part of the United States, they do not have the food to sustain a lot of the colonizers. I'm being cute when I say that.
Yeah,
The
they can't grow anything really, right?
Inupiaq people who live there are very good at eating fermented whale and things like that. And I actually went to a museum, an Inupiaq museum. It was really cool. They burrow into the permafrost, which creates a permanent refrigerator freezer. And they chop up the whale and throw the chunks in, and they eat it throughout the year.
Wow.
It's pretty wild. I think they were saying something like they need a whale every like month and a half,
Okay.
and that's their food. It's like you wake up, whale, lunch, whale, dinner, whale,
It's just whale all day.
you whale all day.
The whalers.
And the funny
What
thing
about veggies
was,
and stuff? They don't need like
there's no veggies up there.
lichen,
There's
lichen.
yeah, I think it's all mud. But there's no trees in the. I think the Arctic Circle has no trees. In Barrow, there's no trees. Now, okay, don't get me wrong. Anchorage, there actually is in Alaska. a massive growing season. And so they end up having the biggest fruits imaginable. So like a lot of the record fruit because they have that massive sunlight for a really long period of time in the summer. But they're heavily dependent on the United States for goods being shipped in. They will figure it out. Don't get me wrong. Alaskans are doing, but I don't think their current levels could be sustained if they were to secede. Anyway, more to the point. Everybody wants their state to leave. Do the math. Someone's going to have to go through each state, calculate the amount of people in each state. So when it says 31% of Texas wants to secede, how many people live in Texas? 30 million? What's 27? Let's do some math. Texas population. 29.53 million. So we're talking about 10 million people in Texas want to become their own country.
Yeah,
Well, how many people
California.
this is a poll. How many people did they poll? Because
All of them.
All the people.
I'm sure
All
they
of
didn't
them,
poll
Ian.
every human.
Yeah, no, they did. Yeah.
They'll tell you because what you
Yep.
just did is you extrapolated that 31% up to the number, which is the mistake people make when they read polling data. You've got to see
yeah,
how many
they-
people were polled. If it was
It's at everyone.
10,000,
It's at all of them.
then you're going to have 3,000
every,
people.
every single one.
So to make the claim you just made as a journalist is very disingenuous.
Wrong.
Because 10 million people did not, I guarantee you, did not
no,
fill
no,
out
they
that
did.
poll.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, let's find out.
No, I did. There it is. It says Ian is wrong.
Oh, really?
We did poll every person.
Every single person in the state.
The point I'm making is like, come on, you're being obtuse, Ian.
I don't
Of course.
think so. I think I was refined and accurate.
No, I think you're being obtuse.
Highly
We know that we're talking
angular.
about an extrapolation of the population based on polling data. Okay.
No, some people don't, though. They just look
So
at that
what?
number and they think it means 33%
Too
of
bad
the
they're
population.
stupid, because the
Well,
point I'm making-
we got to educate them.
Because the point I'm making has nothing to do with whether or not we're going to sit here and try and make determinations about polling data extrapolation. My point is, you would have to take the population of each state. You would have to then figure out the percentage based on population, because 31% of Texas is not the same as 31% of New York.
No.
You
Or
then need to
California.
get the hard numbers based on their polling data to determine the total amount of people in this country who actually want to secede. So if you want to determine how many people in the United States are in favor of their state seceding is a very different question from if you are a resident of X state,
Yeah.
do you want to secede?
And why you want to secede, I think, is more interesting.
Right.
I mean, because in California, they want to secede for completely different reasons than Texas and Alaska and New York and everywhere else. I mean, I think it's more interesting to know why.
31% of residents seek a Texit. 29% of California and 28% of New York.
New
I mean,
Yexit.
do you think California is because they're like, we want to be liberal and progressive and we want to get
What
rid
would you
of,
call it? Califrexit.
I don't know.
It sounds
They-
like
they-
a kind of
they call it
wine.
Calexit.
I
Yeah.
like Califrexit.
Calexit.
But
better.
there is a Calexit movement. We interviewed the guy. Here's the issue.
So what did he? All right, go ahead.
29% of the state wants to secede. Yes. Probably half of them are liberal and half of them are conservative. So they're not all in agreement with each other as
They
to
have
why you
different
want to secede.
reasons, yeah.
Yeah. And they hate each other. So
That'd be a fun state or fun country, I guess.
I'm for it. I think if states, this country was founded on the right to self-determination. And so it should, the Texas secession question should absolutely be on the ballot anytime anyone wants to propose it. And the people of Texas should be allowed to vote if they want to secede. But it keeps, like, you can't even ask the question because the powers that be are like, no.
Yeah. Well, there's the Greater Idaho movement, which is pretty interesting. They basically just want to ditch the West Coast of Oregon and become part of
Right.
Idaho.
And then there's the state of Jefferson, which is Northern
Yeah.
California.
Yeah, there's that too.
Yeah.
the
Which
state of
includes,
Jefferson. They want to secede as a
there's
state.
the rural parts of these
Yeah.
of many of these states are proposing joining up to create a new
Which
state.
makes a lot of
Interesting.
sense in Oregon because Eastern Oregon is so much more like Idaho than Western Oregon.
But why would Portland give up their slaves?
well, it's
that-
more like
that's-
Salem. Yeah, Salem wouldn't support it, but yeah.
But this is why. So the hyper progressives on the coasts know they control politics and they can take whatever they want from the farming rural folk in the in the east.
Yeah.
So that's
I think Portlanders might be like, yeah, sure, but Salem would be like, no, because of the actual exactly what you just said, because they're a little more intelligent, and know,
yeah.
how the
But
state is run.
I assume the actual power base of Oregon is Portland. The wealthy individuals who are lobbying and controlling the system are in Portland.
Yeah, but Salem would make the call because that's just where the state legislature is.
That's the capital, Salem?
And my point is, the people in Salem are beholden to the corporate interests
Yeah.
of the major corporations.
They're right next to each other, Salem, Portland.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
well,
interesting.
I mean, an hour, but yeah.
It's all part of the same metropolitan area?
No. It's
If
considered a
it's
different area.
If it's an hour apart, it's one metro.
Well, it's considered a different area.
Like they call it SeaTac. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Seattle, Tacoma.
Yeah. It's funny because I've had people tell me that our operation is not in the DC metro because we're based out of Western Maryland and West Virginia. And I'm like, yeah, we're like we're between an hour and 50 minutes from DC. So it's DC metro. And they're like, no, it's not. Like you're in a different state. And I'm like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but all the states are on
Gary,
top of
Indiana
each
is
other.
DC Metro. Is Chicago Metro, and you're in Chicago. You're closer to like Gary, Indiana, or North Chicago, Indiana, than you are to St. Charles or Geneva, which are like an hour to an hour and a half drive.
I don't know.
And
My
those are
Uber
considered
driver
metro.
didn't want to come out here last night. He was like,
But we don't have Uber out here.
well,
it's very hard
from
to
the
get
airport.
Uber.
Did they
Yeah.
cancel on you multiple times waiting for an Uber?
No, he did it. He just groaned. He just like looked and pulled it up. You know, they pull it up where you're going. He's just
Oh,
like,
he didn't look
he's
beforehand.
Like, yeah,
Yeah,
he's
I'll
like,
get. They'll be like, the driver's accepted. A driver is canceled. A driver is accepted. A driver is.
This is why we have 3 drivers, and so we provide travel for all of our guests.
well, I got an Uber, so
Ubers don't exist out here, and so we always get people who are like, "I'll come by. I'll just get an Uber. I'm leaving." Like, no, you won't.
Nope.
There's no such thing. If you go to the casino, you'll get an Uber though. So
That's like the only place to get an Uber.
that-
Like you can get an Uber to the casino and back usually.
it's kind of wild that I think it was the casino thing in this country is really recent, and most people, I think millennials aren't really cognizant of this because I wasn't old enough to go to casinos, and then by the time I was old enough, casinos had been legalized and were opening up everywhere. So it's pretty wild to think that for a while it was Native American reservations. As of like the late 70s and the 80s, it was Seminole in Florida that filed the lawsuit. And then it was Morongo, I think, in California, where it was, I think Seminole opened bingo halls. And then the state came and arrested them. And then they argued, we're sovereign. We're federally regulated, not state regulated. And the federal government was like, yep. Like the federal government jumped at the chance to seize power over the states.
They sure did.
And now
And it's like half of Oklahoma or something.
yeah, that's crazy. And now you've got all these Native American casinos, but these are relatively new. But now we've got Maryland. Maryland's got holy crap. Maryland's got National Harbor, Horseshoe. It's got Rocky Gap. What am I missing? It's got Perryville. I'm probably missing. There's 4 casinos in Maryland.
Are these state ones? Are those
State of
those are
Maryland
state of
casinos.
Maryland
Yep.
casinos, yeah.
That's crazy.
I've only been over to National Harbor.
Yep, that's Maryland. Just it's in National Harbor, Maryland.
Yeah.
Then you've got Baltimore. Then you've got Perryville, Maryland, and then you've got Rocky Gap, which is just near outside of Cumberland. Maryland went full steam. The crazy thing is,
New York's going to get one in Manhattan.
in Times Square, a Caesars,
In Times Square, so
a
they're going
Caesars
to
Times Square.
You know
This
what they're
is
going to do?
dystopian.
They're
This
going to
is-
that's like a reversal of Giuliani's cleaning up Times Square. They're just like, "You know what? Let's make it nasty again."
there's like
no,
1,000
no, no,
National
no.
Guard in
You
the
don't think
subway
so?
and a
You don't think there's going to
Caesars
be like a
Town
lot more
Square?
hookers and stuff in
Nope.
Times Square?
Well, I think it'll turn into higher end
Higher end hookers in Times
Yep.
Square.
because it's going
Pull
to be.
back some of that business from Queens.
Look, National Harbor, it's crazy. There's crime there, but everything is shinier. So
It's shiny crime.
it gets rid of this. It'll get rid of this
Upscale crime.
It does. It gets rid of the scuzz and replaces it with like mafia style stuff.
Yeah.
You're
That's
more
like-
likely to
yeah.
get laundering, and apparently there was like
You'll get
last year, 3
cocaine
guys
instead
were
of meth.
were doing some scheme in the
Cocaine, not
poker room
crack, yeah.
where they were
whatever, yeah.
tapping to each other the cards they had so they could con out the other players. That's the kind of crime you get, and
It's
you
like
do get
the difference
stabbings,
between, like, yeah.
Yeah,
but you get way
random-
more stabbings
random
right
murders. Yeah.
On the subway system in New York.
now. Right.
Apparently.
I think putting a Caesars in Times Square is a culturally bad thing, but our culture is sick, so it's actually going to be a net improvement.
It might be, but it won't be a net improvement over what it was 5 years ago.
5
You're
years
talking
ago.
about a casino
6 years ago?
in Times Square?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe 10.
New York
Like
City is
after
like,
Giuliani cleaned everything up, it got real nice.
and then Bloomberg made it even nicer.
And
And then it went downhill under de Blasio.
yeah,
Really tanked. He
De Blasio
really
is
tanked
an
it.
evil guy.
He is. He's a very terrible, disgusting man.
Yeah.
Did he do it in with economics?
Yeah, he did that. And he there was a no cash bail all of a sudden and all of these ridiculous things. And then COVID, of course, wiped out so much of the just foot traffic, which led to increased crime, bunch of empty storefronts.
Yep. Sounds like Portland.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
But it'll be so the rumor is, I'm pretty sure, let me look this up, Caesars Times Square.
I hate it.
Did they legalize it in New York? Is that what's-
Legal. Yeah, they're putting
Gambling?
casino in New York, in the city.
Whoa.
Which is kind of wacky.
Wow.
It just seems
13
wacky.
block security operation care of Bill Bratton.
just want
Look at
that
this.
money. They
Take a
want
look at
those-
this. This is
Damn.
Big economic.
They want that money. They're like, how can
Where
we
is
get
it
more
gonna-
tourism?
that's, like,
How
right
can we
on-
like, get, like
Is that right on Broadway?
Yep. It's in
That's
Times
so
Square,
cool.
right on Broadway.
Wait
Look
a
at that.
second. Is that like where the
That's
is that where
the-
the
South Tower.
says
No, wait. Is
bow
that
tie,
South?
the bow tie.
Yep, that's the South Tower right there. There's the, yep. It's going to be, that's crazy.
is there going to be shows at it? Is it going to
Yep.
Are they going to make a new Broadway theater because there's a limited
know.
number of Broadway theaters right now. There's like what 28 Broadway theaters.
I got to be honest, I like it.
You like it?
It's going to be, it like this massive economic
mean-
expansion, I think would be good for the city. The problem is the city is run by crackpots who are trying to institute martial law. That's the problem.
I would definitely go to it.
Well, so here's what I was going to say is crazy is that before the opening of all these Maryland casinos, the West Virginia Hollywood, the Charlestown races was the biggest casino on the East Coast. And people, you want an Uber out here? No problem. Everyone was coming out here. Their poker room had like 50 some odd tables. You had millions of dollars pouring in, and West Virginia, they were in the high heavens. And then Maryland was like, why are we giving this business to West Virginia? Let's open casinos on our own. And now National Harbor is the highest grossing casino in the country.
And it's really pretty.
Yeah,
Clean
it's
and
my
nice and-
National Harbor is my least favorite casino, but my favorite poker room. The poker room's fun, but the casino is, look, man, I don't understand the world. I really don't. You go to National Harbor, and they will have a game like Ultimate Hold'em. Let me break this down. It's a table game for those that know casinos. There are 6 positions. You can sit down at each one of them, and then you place your bet, right? So like, I'm going to bet $5 and then you get cards. And if you win, woohoo, they give you $5. You win $5. So you go to a casino like Hollywood and they have $15 blackjack. Every hand is your minimum is $15. They have a $5 minimum if you use their app to play, to buy chips, $5. Okay. It's like, okay. MGM, these games are like $200 a hand.
That's crazy.
You sit down. And so like we were in DC and I was like, why don't we go stop there and see what's up? And we went there and like I was there with a handful of people from the company and we were like, it is $200 to play one table game one time. Nobody wants to play, but they're packed. And I'm like, who are these people? Who are these people who show up and they're like, I got no problem playing $200. We just played a clip on this show of a guy who's like, I can't afford to eat. It was $100. Go to National Harbor and you'll see some dude who looks like he makes $50K a year and he's just got wads. I sat down and there was a guy wearing like a button-up shirt and he had like 20 grand in front of him and he was just playing the game, like putting hundreds down. And I was like,
Dude,
what do these people do for a
Wealth
living?
disparity.
understand.
It's
Seriously.
Mortgage their house.
I think that's on
'cause they have
purpose.
It's
gambling
capital
addiction.
city. No, I don't believe that.
No?
Like
I've seen it,
everyone
but-
makes this argument where it's like, oh, the reason you see that is because they're all on debt. I'm like, dude, I watched a guy ACH 40 grand in Vegas. They came out.
What?
They had a tray with a slip on it. And he filled the form, and then a guy came out with a case, and they handed him $40,000 in chips, and he put it down, and he was betting like $6,000 a roll on craps. I'm like, that was an ACH transfer. They do have credit windows. I never see anybody at the credit windows. You know what I think it is? I think it's Hunger Games. Like Ian was just saying, wealth disparity.
It's so huge right now, and it's not shown enough in society.
I think what you're seeing when you go to National Harbor is Capital City in the Hunger Games. Of all of the people who are just like, I have no problem betting $1,000 right now. Why not? While the rest of the country is like, I can't eat.
I think that there are a lot of very wealthy people that are not speaking up because they're just trying to milk it for everything. And I see where this Marxist oppressors and oppressed comes from and why the communism is building right now with this wealth disparity. Like people, but they're not your enemies. The system is busted. Greed sucks. And I know when someone is greedy, you might want to say they are the problem, but it's the greed that's the problem, not the human. Keep that in mind because this cycle of like rich people get too rich and then there's an overthrow and then the rich people get too rich and there's an we got to stop that cycle right now. We got to do something new and cool.
Check it out. Coalition for a Better Times Square. What do you think they want?
Money.
They want a Caesars casino.
Oh,
I assumed when I saw the name they were going to be opposed to it. But it's like
I
a
thought so
vital
too.
plan, an opportunity of a lifetime for a world-class gaming and entertainment destination.
Is this a nonprofit? Like, what is
The
this?
need is clear.
They were going to put it in Hudson Yards. I do think Times Square is probably a better spot than
oh yeah.
Hudson Yards.
Wait, Jay-Z's. Wait, what is this?
Yeah, Jay-Z's Rock Nation will help unify the heart of Times Square.
Wow.
Here's the reality. The first year, it will be a golden period. It will be clean and pristine and exciting. A year later, it's going to be drugs.
Well, you know
It's
it's
gonna be-
Illuminati
yeah.
because Jay-Z is involved. So first of all, I mean,
That proves it.
Yeah. Talk about evidential proof.
Either that, or they'll just let the rest of the city go even deeper into hell while they focus on this.
I get mixed feelings about.
Yeah, they're doing Broadway. Look at this, 105 million
Yeah, they
new
have
annual
to, right?
Broadway ticket sales.
Do you consider gambling
Wait a minute.
debauchery?
They're projecting more ticket sales, but
do.
are they adding
Right.
theater?
Yeah, good point. They're
Because-
saying people will come to the casino and buy tickets.
Because the Broadway coalition is really tight. There's only a couple of theater owners. There's like the Schuberts, Jew Jampson, who else? And then there's like some of the not-for-profits have Broadway theaters, which if you're a not-for-profit, you obviously you should not have a Broadway theater if you're a not-for-profit. I think
Okay,
that is
so
just
who's this? Okay.
not
These are
reasonable,
the,
but-
okay, these are the members of the coalition.
For the record, there's 41 Broadway theaters.
41.
And then 40 of them are in use. One's being rebuilt.
Who are the owners?
Yeah,
There's
these are all
Schubert's,
these
Jew Jampson.
corporations. This is just who supports
else?
it. So like
I
they're going to
forget
make a
who
lot of
else there
money.
is.
I don't know.
Oh, there's LGBT
Well, it
flag
doesn't
in
matter.
there.
No one cares but me.
Look into it. I'd like to find the data.
All right, we're going to go to Super Chats. So if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, head over to timcast.com, click join us to become a member and support our work directly, because this show is made possible thanks in part to viewers like you. When you support our work, you're helping us with our physical location, and you'll also get access to our uncensored members-only show. So I recommend you do that. It's Monday through Thursday. I actually had someone tell me, like, wait, you do a members show every day? And I'm like, well, no, Monday through Thursday. And they're like, you do it 4 days a week? And I'm like, yeah. And they pointed out that, like, most podcasts do one extra per week or one extra per month for their members. And I was like, am I working too hard? Am I giving these viewers too much?
No,
No.
you're setting
For
an
their-
example of what people should be
it's just
doing
an
with their lives.
excellent deal for $10.
That's right.
A
It's an
month.
excellent deal.
Dang
So
it.
become a member and support our work. And now we'll read your Super Chats.
I'm a member.
That's right.
Nice. Yeah.
Smash that like button.
Me too. Mine's complimentary.
All right. Tracer says
Mine
not
is not, I
first.
pay.
Tracer, you in fact were first. You were incorrect. Frey Kane says, sad to hear Rooster Teeth shut down today. Was a big part of my high school years.
What is it?
So it was like OG. It was OG YouTube, man. Red versus blue, stuff like that.
Oh, I remember that. Red versus blue.
yeah.
That was
What else?
on-
What else did they have, Serge?
They had a bunch of like my little brother actually, I don't know, he doesn't watch the show, but he went to a bunch, they did like game analysis stuff, like how to like actually do game design and everything. It was like a huge thing. I was sad to hear they shut down. Man, I wonder what happened. I don't know.
They got bought out by Warner, I guess. Is that what it was?
Oh.
And then Warner's like, bye bye. It's funny because a
axed
lot
the
of
whole
these,
thing, huh?
a lot of these companies that get bought out, they survive on their own. They're profitable. They get bought out and then shuttered.
Yeah.
But probably what happens, the parent company strips the IP that has value and then
Yeah.
gets rid of everything
Yeah.
And
else.
keeps the staff maybe sometimes too.
yeah. It's
Not in
like
this case.
Old school 80s takeover type stuff, you know?
Let's grab some more super chats. Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says, Tim, I have the best idea. When Trump wins, we reallocate the $80 billion for the IRS and instead put it towards criminal alien deportations.
Rage.
We'll just put Ian in charge of deportation.
It's funny, Raymond G. Stanley.
Like, no,
I keep saying the
it's
word
me.
rage out loud. Don't worry, Raymond. I don't want you to rage. It's just
Mag
cool.
says, with the supposed crash coming, should I invest in upgrading my home or save the money? You know what I've been seeing a lot of articles talking about home loan delinquencies are through the roof. Like Canada's experiencing a massive surge, Texas.
Canada definitely, yeah.
And I'm just like, guys, I'm not giving you advice, but property value is going to implode in the next 20 years because property value makes no sense. Baby boomers are trading properties among themselves. And the millennials like to say that baby boomers are holding a disproportionate amount of wealth. Well, most of their wealth is in real estate.
Yep.
And the real estate value is based on what they're willing to sell to each other. So they're hoarding real estate among each other. But guess what happens? Boomer is going to die. The 40-year-old, child will inherit the house, be unable to afford anything
Yep.
else. But what's going to happen is kid lives in Chicago, mom dies in New York. New York home is worth $1 million. It goes up for sale. The kid's like, yes, I just inherited $1 million. Wow, I can't believe it. Sad their mom died, but I inherited this. Put it on the market. Not a single other millennial is going to be able to afford to buy it. So then they're going to say, lower the price, and it sells for half its price. When millennials who don't have as much money become the dominant buyers in the market, the price will collapse. That's it. Ain't nobody else going to be buying and nobody else got the money. Well, we'll see. Could be wrong.
That's why I just
We'll
want to
see.
live in my house.
Yeah, I can't
I mean,
give you.
investors typically buy up a lot of these homes. So they'll,
Yep.
investors will have
BlackRock.
30, 40. I mean, even just smaller investors, even just one person that has a lot of money can buy, as many homes as they want, right? But that's not where they're living. They're just renting it out.
All right, let's grab some more. Jacob Parody says, I'm willing to bet there are tens of thousands of Republicans living in New York, Minnesota, and California that could just move 50 miles into a swing state and we dominate this election. They did that. That was 2020, the mass exodus. And so the Democrats likely are bringing these illegal immigrants to bolster their congressional districts, preparing for the next 6 years. Guys, 6 years is not a long. It's not a long time. It's been 8 years since Donald Trump won his first election. 8 years. We are just about 8 years. We're coming into another election. 6 years is going to go by in the blink of an eye. And we're all going to be like, I can't believe it's 2030 already. The next census is here. And the Democrats are going to be like, look at all of these people who live here.
Right. But people are saying it's for this election. And it's like, no, it's for, like you just said, it's for the 6 years from now.
It's because this mass exodus through COVID weakened their total count. And now they're already saying that they're going to lose the Democrat states will lose congressional seats and electoral votes because the population exodus.
Right.
They're replacing the people who left. It's funny because they're like, we are being replaced. No.
That's messed up.
The people who left New York are being replaced. So the census numbers stay stable.
Right. No.
Deeply evil.
Yep.
I think the Democrats are evil.
They do plan ahead, though. You got to give them
All
that.
right.
So,
Lieutenant
low IQ
Dan
evil.
says, looking to move to West Virginia. Where's a good town? Martinsburg. That's
We
the
were
plan,
just
baby.
there. Very nice, actually. I like
The
it a lot.
plan is to make Martinsburg parallel economy capital.
There's a
love this
program
idea.
called Elevate, I think. Have you heard of it? To encourage remote tech workers to move to West Virginia.
Oh.
It's actually pretty
I've
cool.
heard
You
about
get like
this,
a basic
actually.
income for the first year.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Wow.
like funded by, I don't know, wealthy West Virginians that want to, boost the population
What-
here. It's
I
pretty
say we should
called
gentrify
Elevate.
Okay,
West
we
Virginia.
need
We should get in touch with these
we
guys.
need people like Jack Posobiec to open a pizza restaurant, a family pizza restaurant in Martinsburg, West Virginia.
That would be really good.
To create the anti-Times Square, we need people like Terrence Williams, and we've briefly talked about this, but I can't be the only one. Like, you know what? If nobody wants to do it, it doesn't happen. That's it. Maybe it's a pipe dream for me to say, but my idea was that we're setting up Cast Brew Coffee, the coffee shop, social club, and live shows once a month in Martinsburg, West Virginia.
cool.
This whole downtown strip, it would be great if the vacant buildings were revitalized with new businesses like Papa Jack Posobiec's Pizza Shack or Cousin T's Diner and things like that. But it has to come from these personalities who want to have these parallel economy businesses. I think it'd be great if Public Square opened a store that carried nothing but Public Square businesses. So when you want to buy jerky, there's your shelf with all the jerky on it. All your goods come from these companies. It's just the challenge we face is I can't be the person who's going to buy every building and start every business.
No, that would be too much.
But
That would be overkill, frankly.
I go to people and I say, let's do this.
Timtown. Let's call
And
it
they say,
Timsburg.
yes, let's do it. You do it, and then we'll come. And I'm like, well, I am doing it. We have Cast Brew Coffee. Now I'm asking you to open a brick and mortar nearby as well, because it's going to be symbiotic. When we do these events once a month and we bring people in, they'll shop at your place too. It's good. It's a win-win. And it's great for the people who already live there. And then it's just kind of like nobody's doing anything.
Why do they not want to do it?
Well, it's hard. It's very difficult. You know, it's easy for me to say we're not far away, but for
Right.
people who are in the DC area or Pittsburgh or Philly, I don't know. We need people to do it.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it's going to be like we create some kind of corporation that then licenses everybody and we own it all. But then it's just like Tim Pool's Martinsburg. Like it creates Times Square in a way I don't like.
that's what
Where one
Astor,
corporate-
Tim
one-
Square.
John
where
Astor
one
did, yeah.
corporation owns everything because no one else. But maybe that's what we have to do.
John Astor did that in New York, and they call it Astoria now. They just named
Yep.
the area after him that he governed. I don't know what he was
That's where
doing.
Broad City girls lived.
Yep.
Yeah.
That show, yeah, I remember that show. I was gonna
Yeah.
say it's awesome. It was actually kind of funny.
All right, here we go. Titan Soap says, "Hey people, Titan Soap is now on Public Square. You can help fight against ESG and other woke ideas by scrubbing yourself with our Appalachian pine tar or our fresh tea tree soap. Simplified. Ian loves soap.
I love tea tree as well. Tea tree oil is
Ooh,
legit.
that's-
Antifungal.
It's for Ian.
Yeah, it's really good for you. In the
Shane-
right dosages and usages, of course.
Shane Keena says Jimmy Dore is definitely cracking the champagne tonight. Why? Because Cenk Uygur suspended his campaign. I don't think that anybody actually took Cenk Uygur's campaign seriously and that he would win. I don't think Cenk even did that. I think he was trying to raise. I can respect why Cenk Uygur ran for president. It was for one reason: to warn Democrats Biden is awful and can't win, and he is right. Now, what he wants to do instead, I disagree with, but he's right. Cenk Uygur was like, I'm begging Democrats to realize Biden can't win this. And they don't care, dude.
They don't care.
It's kind of like he's like, we got to go in that direction over there. And you're like, yeah, but I think the destination's there. You guys are both pointing kind of in the same direction. Whether or not we'll know more when we get closer, which area is more accurate.
Grofty says, the like button is so lonely. Befriend it. It will help. and make a difference too. On my way in for IRL, because I come in the morning to the studio to record, I go out and eat and stuff like that. Mr. Mutton Chops was sleeping on the stairs outside of Chicken City. So he's going to die. Mr. Mutton Chops is one of our roosters, and he's the only one that always escapes. He just does not like being in there. So he jumps out, and then I see him walking around the lawn, and I'm like, a fox is going to get you. You will die. And so periodically, we let him do his thing, let him have fun. I'll look out the window, and I'll see him, and I'll laugh. And then I'll go out, and I'll shoo him back into the fenced-off area. So today, it's dark out. It's like 6:30, and I ride up on my bike, and there he is sleeping just on the stairs outside. And when chickens and roosters sleep, they're dazed. They're just totally zonked out. He would have just died tonight. So I walked up, and then he just looks, and he's totally dumbfounded, and I just pick him up, and I put him back in the thing, and then he's like, what just happened?
Stop thwarting my plan.
But he's lucky.
Yeah.
So we butchered 17 roosters.
Oh.
17.
That's
Wow.
many.
And 3 were pardoned. One because his name is Scar. He's Roberto Beeks III's brother. And Roberto Jr., who is the king. Roberto is king regent. Roberto Jr., his son, took the throne.
Okay.
And then Roberto Jr. had several children. Roberto Jr. had a heart attack and died. So RB3 was named new king.
Okay.
And his brother has he has golden feathers. And his brother has all dark feathers and like black on him.
His name's Scar. What could go wrong?
Well, I named him Scar because
You
he's
mean if like the Lion King?
right, because RB3 was named king and he's the brother
Right.
who's darker colored but was not named king and he looks angrier. But the reason we didn't kill him is I was like, if something happens to RB3, then the lineage is broken. So there has to be, a brother. And it just so happens that he's like darker colored and it works out.
And they're not smart enough to
Let me just
poison
give a
each other.
shout out to the parents of Scar and Mufasa who looked down at their lion cub children and said, you will be Mufasa, the king, and you're Scar. Like, wow, you really laid that
I don't like
the
you.
path out for that one. Yeah.
What are you going to do with the bird that keeps jumping out of the cage?
Laugh.
Just watch him jump and jump forever
It's
until he
hilarious.
jumps no more?
We're going to breed him. He's got mutton. We call him Mr. Mutton Chops. He's got mutton chops.
the most like pro-freedom of all the
Yeah,
chickens.
he's a libertarian.
That's right.
He's open borders.
He's got mutton chops because the kind of rooster he is. So like down the side of his face, he has these he has a beard. He has mutton chops. We call him Mr. Mutton Chops.
Burnsides.
He's definitely a libertarian.
Yeah,
The old Burnside. What was that guy? That old Civil
third
War
one.
General Burnsides?
I don't know. The third rooster.
Oh, you got to look
got
that guy up.
the
That's what they
third
named
rooster-
Sideburns after.
The third rooster that got the pardon, it's because he's massively fluffy, and Kim calls him Pom Pom. And so
he's too cute.
he's just this massively fluffy rooster who walks around. And so she was like, we can't kill him.
It's that guy, Ambrose Burnside.
There you
They
go.
named Sideburns after this guy. He was a general.
Amazing.
And does he have
Huge. Comes down and around like a beard.
All right.
This guy was awesome.
Let's grab some more. Titan Soap says, Tim, since you first mentioned the thing about how Nikki doesn't move her jaw when she talks, it's all I think about when I see her speak. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, we were talking about it when we had the facelift and the Botox.
No, she doesn't move her jaw.
I can't
So
tell.
her teeth are locked, and she talks like this with her teeth
Well,
not
maybe that's
moving.
from like so much stretching of like the skin from face.
No, but it's her jaw. It's not her skin.
Maybe she had her jaw
Her
worked
teeth
on.
don't move, and people are like, teeth aren't supposed to. No, it's because her jaw doesn't move.
Maybe she had her jaw wired shut at some point to prevent herself from
But if
eating
your
or
skin
something.
is too tight, you can't really, move your jaw, right?
Or she's got like neurological issues from so
That
many
could be.
lies being told
Watch
over the
her
years.
speak,
like
and
knowing
you'll
you're
be
part of the
like,
problem.
how did she just say those words without opening her mouth?
Ventriloquist.
Yeah. Her teeth stay like this, and she talks like
She needs to
this.
just have
Her
a
teeth
puppet.
don't
If she had a
move.
puppet, she might have gotten more votes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Maybe she's the puppet.
ah.
All right. Let's read some more. Jacob Hawley says, Tim, look at new Wisconsin legislature map. The Dems are crushing us over here. Our Republican Party are inept rhinos. We went from 67 to 33 seat majority in the House and 20 seat majority in Senate to 1 seat majority in both now partisan courts. Yep.
Well, yep.
And Republicans want to lose. Look, I'll say it again. We have had Republicans on this show, and I'll ask them, why was there was a J6 commission? Why was there no 529 commission? And they go, what's 529? I was like, wow. Republicans,
Not important to you, huh?
here's the reality. The Republican Party is like, the Democrats are the cool kids walking around kicking over garbage cans. The Republicans are the stodgy dorks being like, I'm cool too. Hey guys, look at me.
Let me pick up the trash can real quick though, guys. Hold up. And then they're
And
like,
Hall
then
monitors.
Trump comes in and he's like, hey, we're all kind of pissed off at how this thing's being run. He's not a Republican. The Republicans are desperate to be cool. The Republicans desperately
I
want
hate that.
Democrats to think they're cool.
Because they never will think they're cool.
No, they're being picked on.
There's no point.
Then Trump comes in and says, I don't care about any of you. We're going to make this our way.
And so everybody hates him because he doesn't care about the social order.
All right. Corto Maltese says, my last name is Briones. I wonder if we're related. Have any family in Rapid City, South Dakota?
I do not.
But you are related.
Possibly, yeah.
Well, if you have a last name, you're related.
Is that just the rule?
It's a generality.
I met this guy at
It might
CMAC
be.
who had my same last name. I never meet people with my same last name. We were both waiting in line to get coffee, and I saw his name tag. I was like, hey, we have the same last name. And we tried to track it down, and we could not figure out where our family trees may converge. But
So
Sounds British.
So here's the thing.
Yeah.
Smith,
it's
probably not related.
Yeah. Right, probably not.
Because Smith is a reference to being a blacksmith.
Right.
But there are certain names that are specific that have a single root, and it typically means, no, not typically, but often that you might have to go back hundreds of years, but yeah, you come from
Thousands.
someplace.
Briones is very popular in the Philippines, and so I get people reaching out to me, and they're like,
Is
"Are
it
we
Spanish?
related?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's Spanish."
Yeah. Wow.
So
Briones.
There you
I mean, it
go.
could be thousands of years back, but yeah,
Yep.
possibly.
All right. Commies are not people says, I have been calling red. Actually, I want to make a point. In the 1964 Civil Rights Act, they actually exempt communists from protections.
Oh yeah,
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
Yep.
a big thing. They have no rights. Yeah.
But that's someone that has signed up for the Communist Party, basically.
No. Communist affiliation.
Any
it's crazy.
affiliation, yeah.
What's the affiliation?
Communism.
Like
That's
No,
it.
is it
Read
just like
Talk to a guy on
If
the
you are
phone.
part of
I'm
any
a member.
organization that is communist,
Yeah.
you do not have civil rights.
like the was it Revolutionary American Communists or whatever that group
Revcom?
that- yeah.
All right, they say, I've been calling red area DAs asking why they're not going after CPB, considering them admitting to facilitating child trafficking, and they try and deflect. Everyone start calling. Yep. It's kind of crazy to me that CBP is operating in basically every state. They are admittedly facilitating child trafficking, and not a single Republican wants to do anything about it. It's because Republicans are basically like Democrats are the Democrats are the dominatrixes, and the Republicans are the guy in the button-up going, "Oh, mistress, please." That's Republicans.
We need people in politics that are willing to sit down for 3 hours every night and do a show like this, like talk, or even if it's not recorded, like talk like this. What do they
Jake
do?
Ramaswamy would be the only one.
They're fundraising.
That's so ridiculous.
Yeah, they
What
go
a
to
mismanagement
fundraisers.
of time and authority. Like, we need those people running the government right now because we have it set up that they are the only ones that can.
They go to fundraisers. It's fun. People pay like thousands of dollars to talk to them for 20 seconds. It's amazing. And they just stand there in line and
That
like
ain't good enough.
talk to people for 20 seconds. And they're like, yeah, I'll vote for that. Move along. Next person.
Please clap says service guarantees citizenship is the solution. Yeah, but what does that mean? That illegal immigrants can become can join the military and then we give them citizenship? I like the idea that if you want to vote, you have to sign up for selective service. And if you don't want to vote, you don't have to sign up for selective service.
I thought that was the rule. I thought everybody had to sign up for selective service.
Only men.
Oh yeah, no, women don't have
Yeah,
to.
women have no civic responsibility attached to their privileges.
No, but they're supposed to have babies.
Yeah, well, they're not doing that either. So
They're not doing that either. They're just killing them. It's messed up.
weak men, okay? It is weak men who at the turn of the century agreed women get the right to vote with no civic responsibility. Okay, dude, I'm all for women voting, but civic responsibility is everyone's responsibility.
No,
So
I like the civil.
Simple answer. Nobody has to sign up for selective service. But if you don't, you can't vote. That's real simple. You get your voter card when you sign up for selective service.
I like
Male
a
or
year of
female?
service. I like a year.
I'm
of
not saying a
service
year
for
of
the country.
service.
No, I'm saying a year
Oh,
of
sure.
service for the country. I like
Selective,
that.
like
I like compulsory. Yeah, better than selective. Yeah.
everybody in our generation signed up for the selective service, and no one's gotten called to a draft.
That's the problem with that. I think it should. I mean, because then we're not going to do a draft because it's politically, unpopular.
But what doesn't even none of this matters. If we attached voting to the selective service, you would instantly weed out all Democrats. The
They
overall
just wouldn't do it.
go to Times Square and walk up to someone and say, "Who did you vote for?" They'll say Biden, and say, "Would you join the military right now to go fight in a war?" And say, "No." Would you sign up to be drafted? No. Problem solved. I guarantee you. And shout out to any of these guys who are doing these man on the street interviews. Ask people, who did you vote for? Joe Biden. Let me ask you a question. Would if in order to vote you had to sign up to be drafted, would you sign up to be drafted? They will say no. And 80% of Republicans will say yes. Problem solved. We cannot have a voting system. It's really simple. When you create a system in which people, I'll use this example. Right now, I believe that election day should be a national holiday. Okay. Everyone should get paid day off. Why? Because right now the incentive is if you are unemployed, it's easier to vote, which means you're going to get a bunch of leftist communists who don't work, who can go vote, and family parents are going to be like, I can't do it.
It's mostly retired people. I mean, like
right?
older people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so if we say everybody gets a chance to go out and vote today, go vote, you will see substantially more people with families and work be like, well, okay, we'll go vote.
No, yeah,
There you
it's
go.
an easy one. Yeah.
But actually the
Should've been
easiest,
done a long time ago.
I'm willing to bet if we attached voting to selective service, all of the problems we're facing would be wiped out in 20 years.
Maybe. You still have dudes like, because I was like, well, how can I wiggle around this one? I would not sign up for the selective service, but then make internet videos and tell people who to vote for and get 100,000 people to vote my way without ever having to join the military. You see people like that, but I don't know if that's necessarily like a reason not to do it.
It does not change my proposition.
Because they could only vote if they were in the selective service.
There's going to be, exactly. And so you can advocate for whatever you want. The issue is only the people who are willing to submit, like to say, I would serve this country in its most dire needs, are allowed to vote. You will still have Democrats voting, but the overwhelming majority of their voter base evaporates overnight.
I remember when all my friends had to sign up for selective service when we were in high school.
High school, I remember that too.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it
all
was
guys.
like, and it was all guys doing it, and I felt kind of
Yeah, I felt weird too. I was
weird. I was like,
oh.
I
sorry, buddy. Yeah.
I kind of felt like I wanted to have that responsibility as well. I was like, I love my country, you know, I would sign up for this.
Yeah, it did feel weird. It
You
felt
know,
like,
it felt like it didn't feel like I was being afforded the same responsibility for the nation.
right.
And I was definitely super lefty at the time.
Yeah, I don't think it has
I
to
definitely
do with
would
that.
have
I think
signed up.
it's
I don't
patriotism rather than-
understand how we still legally have male only draft.
Well, we don't
The
really have
Senate-
any draft right now.
Right.
We
but
do.
Yeah.
The
I
draft
mean,
never went anywhere.
it never went away, but you know,
It's just
they
not been
haven't
called
done
up.
it. Yeah, exactly.
So the
Exactly.
issue, so the Senate has entertained several times, forcing women to sign up for the draft, but they always back down to the last minute because their voters revolt.
Yeah.
Because the majority
the
of
voters are female.
right, because Democrat women are like, I want all the right. Like, I don't blame someone for saying, I will steal from you and make you be my slave. I get it. That's what Democrats are doing when they support the idea that only men have to be drafted. You die for me, I get whatever I want. Yeah, I'm not okay with that. Is there no lawsuit to force the question?
Maybe, but
There hasn't been.
Don't draft kids' moms.
You'd have to have a draft, and then there'd be some.
No, draft
lawsuits.
everybody.
I don't think if you have children under 18, then the mom should not be drafted.
What about the dads?
The dads should still have to. Yeah.
No.
The dads should be drafted. Why?
That's just been the law. I don't see any reason to change it.
But kids need dads.
Sexism.
Kids need a country too to fight, and that's why you fight for it once in a while.
Nah, the idea that you give special benefits to one class of people defies.
I don't know if I would call the female a class, though.
It is.
I mean, it's just the mom.
It is
You
a
want the
protected
mom-
class under the Civil Rights Act.
Right. It is.
Right.
It is a class of people, and we should not have a system where only men have to sign up to go die for other people. Because
I agree with
the
that.
voting incentive then becomes, I don't have to die, you do. You create. Look, West Virginia's formation is so sus. Okay, Virginia enters a civil war. All of the young men are conscripted to fight and leave, and then as soon as they do, the remaining people, older men and women, at the time not women, but older guys who are there, vote to secede from the Confederacy, to secede from Virginia and form a union state called West Virginia.
In World War II, all the British dudes went off to fight the Germans in Europe, and then when the Americans got to England, they just had sex with all the women. Like, that's hyperbole, but a lot of marriages fell apart, British marriages, during that period of time when the new men were in town and the guys were off fighting the war.
The point is, right now our voting system says women get the right to vote without any responsibility, and that's sexist and it's wrong. But guess what? Women keep voting to protect that privilege. That's female privilege right there.
Well, yeah. I mean, people do vote for their own interests, regardless of what the Democrats are always saying about how people vote against their interests.
I think that we fight.
Draft women. I'm going to tweet
We
that.
fight
You
to
must draft
protect the women, though. That's the whole purpose of defending our nation, is to protect the women and the
It's
kids.
supposed to be women and children, right? That was the whole thing, right?
To preserve the future of your species.
Right.
So sending them to war is like last resort.
But now, since women have voted in a certain way to lead us to where, we don't have that
Hey,
anymore.
look, we should be like Ukraine. That's the argument. Stand up, file a lawsuit, and say the United States is falling short of the ideals of its friends in Ukraine. They draft women. Why don't we?
They're the epitome of a democracy.
They're not corrupt at all.
Yeah, I think that they shut down their radio stations and draft their women.
Ian, here's what you do.
Canceled
You
elections.
run as a Democrat, and you say you're fighting for equality under the law, and you want the Equal Rights Amendment. And then as soon as you got a woman at a rally screaming and cheering for the Equal Rights Amendment, you go, women should be drafted. We want equality. And they're going to go, no, we don't want equality anymore.
I got to get it. If I can go rock star mode and get like 40,000 women in the audience, then I'll say it and they'll be like, yeah, I don't even know what he said, but yeah. Like, now I got you.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to go down that road.
All right. Susan Alarm says
Someone
they'd
should.
literally just watered down the milk. Food costs about 4 times to make is what you're paying for it in the store. The government and banks subsidize it via grants and vulture loans. That's why he bought the farm is a saying for life insurance paying off loans. A lot of food is subsidized and is cheaper than it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
That's why we make everything out of
Sure.
corn.
Yeah.
Corn is magical.
We subsidize corn, so people make gas out of corn.
Make anything out of corn.
Plastic out of corn.
Cereal, like all the cereals we eat, all corn. Wouldn't even be possible to make those flavors without corn.
Yeah, I found a weird thing. Did I tell you guys this already? I went to, I was buying like sausages, like Italian sausages, and I kept picking up the packages and reading the ingredients, and they all said high fructose corn syrup.
Dude, test the hair of an American.
Clearly not getting this.
It's like
I,
all
I didn't
corn.
buy any of it.
All right, everybody, if you haven't already, would you kindly
Corn-fed.
smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share this show with your friends, and head over to timcast.com, click join us, become a member to support the show, and you will get access to the uncensored show coming up in just a few minutes. You don't want to miss it. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL. Follow me personally everywhere. I'm on Instagram as well, at Timcast. Heidi, do you want to shout anything out?
Yeah, go ahead and head over to X and follow me there, Heidi Briones, and I have a link pinned to the top of my page with all my other places that you can find me, such as Rumble and YouTube, and I'd love to see you there.
I'm Libby Emmons. You can find me on Twitter at Libby Emmons. And of course, you can check out all the great work we're doing at thepostmillennial.com and humanevents.com. And you can subscribe at thepostmillennial.com/subscribe.
Bye, everyone. Have a nice night. I'm Ian Crossland. Follow me anywhere and everywhere on the internet at Ian Crossland. You'll find me there. Heidi, it's great to see you, man.
Yeah.
Good to meet you finally.
I know.
See you later.
See ya.
I'm Serge.com. I think I'm going to be Serge.net from now on. .com reminds me of like communism, and it feels weird. And I can't get the rights to Serge.com.
Is that predictive programming 30 years in the making?
Yeah,
No,
something like
.org.
that.
.com.
I was thinking .org, but .net's like, if you think about like websites, .net's always a
.net's
chill
pretty
site.
badass,
.net's pretty cool.
honestly.
I find .net's a lot that I
It's like
I align
Gen
with them.
X vibes.
Yeah, so
.net.
Serge.net in the making. We'll see what happens.
All
That's for the
right.
afters.
We will see you all over at timcast.com in about a minute. Thanks
Do
for hanging
it.
out.